Oh, man. What a great week of games. Very excited to break up the monotony of your workday with a little afternoon delight. 3 hours of football talk brought live to you from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. What a great week. What a great week of games. We have a really good Monday night game. We have a really good slate of games for next week. And I'm really excited about it. I am very, very, very excited about it. Just some very quick announcements. I will have my weekly picks video coming out tomorrow. I break it out a couple hours before I go on, so you can get that early in the morning, get all my picks, give you the winners, the score prediction, and the point spread. My picks last week weren't very good. I am scientifically proven to do better this week. Aiden's World. Oh, man, I got, this is going to be a good show. I can tell because I got the good comments coming out. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon to you, sir. So this is actually, this is somebody who I know is doing fantasy football this year. I recommended Antonio Gibson, had 96 yards on the ground as a possible CMC replacement. For those of you who have either Isaiah Pacheco, Bryce Young, or CMC, you need some help in fantasy, I am here for you. I recommended Antonio Gibson, who got 96 yards on the ground, had a little bit in the air, no touchdowns, unfortunately. But he's somebody kind of a dark horse who I brought up. BLC 0310. It's been a while, man. It's been a while. The Houston Texans 2-0. It's funny because I want to talk in great detail about some news that came just earlier today that Bryce Young is going to be benched. I remember, you can go back, I can prove this. You can go back to my 2023 draft videos, and for the first four of them, I had C.J. Stroud as number one pick to the Carolina Panthers. This was an absolute no-brainer. What you want to do is take my number one rated quarterback, which was C.J. Stroud, and you send him to a team. Remember, Frank Reich was the new head coach. He was taking over in Carolina. He got fired in Indianapolis, kind of a bad situation there. Remember, the whole deal is that they hired Josh McDaniels, and then Josh McDaniels was there for like 24 hours, and he's like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to hang out in New England. Instead, they couldn't get anybody to get Frank Reich. He comes in, works really well with Andrew Luck. Then all of a sudden, Andrew Luck retires. They don't really have a plan B. And then he gets the Carolina job. And I was convinced that a former NFL quarterback, remember he backed up Jim Kelly for a long time. Him and Jim Kelly, really good friends. And I kept on saying the same thing, like, you're a former NFL quarterback, you want C.J. Stroud. And finally, I switched my number one pick because the owner came in. Remember, the owner came in, general manager came in, and they were like, no, we want Bryce Young. And I didn't really feel like that was Frank Reich's decision. And C.J. Stroud, that's a really, really good quarterback. If you're looking at the Houston Texans and you're going, Dan, they only scored 19 points. I'm going to tell you this right now. If the Bears had an average NFL offense, there's a very good chance they want to go. They would have won that game. Not taking anything away from the Houston Texans. That's a really good football team. But I'm looking at the Chicago Bears. That defense is really good. That offense is not. And the most important thing that the Houston Texans have is they have a superstar quarterback in C.J. Stroud, and the Panthers, they're in bad shape. Aiden's World, hey, listen, I understand your workday is tough And my job is to come in here and make your work day better with 3 hours of afternoon delight. My job is to come in here and while you're hard at work, coming in, talking football, bringing some enjoyment in your life. All questions are answered, anything goes. But be very, very happy that Houston Texans are 2-0. And it's funny. I'm going to go over this in a little more detail tomorrow. But there's some really good games. Houston at Minnesota, a pair of undefeated teams. That's going to be a good game. Trey Lusado, what's up, brother? Listen, this is a good game. I cannot wait. This is a big one. Eagles, Falcons, it's big for both teams. The Atlanta Falcons, if they go 0-2, they're looking at the Saints that are 2-0. They're looking at the Bucks that are 2-0. And this is a team that a lot of people thought would win the division. Now, all of a sudden, they go 0-2. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. The Eagles, on the other hand, if they get an opportunity to go 2-0 in the NFC East, they need to take advantage of it. A loss here makes that NFC East a lot more interesting. I mean, I think after week 2, whether the Eagles win or lose, I think you have to take a look at the Eagles as like, hey man, that's probably a team to beat. But let's find out. I expect the Eagles to win. But you don't know. You went to the game? That is awesome. I don't know if you took pictures or not. My social media links are listed below. If you took some pictures, please send them to me. He high-fived Stephon Diggs. That is awesome. If you're in Houston, you have got to love this because, I mean, the Houston Texans are 2-0. Every other team's 0-2. And I'm sorry. No, every other team's 0. Not only is every team 0-2, there's some serious problems with all 3 of those teams. There are some serious problems. And you know what the bad news is that there's serious problems at the quarterback position. There are some serious problems. Trevor Lawrence, they gave all that money to. They named it to it was like Trevor Alliance Stadium or whatever. He did not look good. I was somebody, I had Trevor Lawrence as my 2023 NFL MVP candidate, and I've always felt like this is a guy, especially after, remember that a couple years ago against the Chargers, had that great playoff comeback, all-time great playoff comeback. Since then, he's just not really been the guy. And you know what the thing is? He's got players. Brian Thomas Jr. looks like he could be a star. You got Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram's got all sorts of talent. Travis Etienne's talented. They got decent players on the offensive line. There's some legitimate concerns there in Jacksonville. Remember last year, like right after season's over, they canned a defensive coordinator. All right, so you're going to change some things up defensively. Okay, well, the offense is going to be good, right? Right? Look, I think the Browns have good defense. I mean, let's be honest, but, I mean, you're at home, 13 points. I don't have it. I believe this is the second straight game. Anthony Richardson was less than 50%. 10 points doesn't get done. Jonathan Taylor went over 100 yards. Anthony Richardson's a work in progress. I don't think they're handling him correctly. Denver Gator, hopefully he chimes in later today. Do not ever insult Will Levis in front of Denver Gator, but he's not getting it done. I thought I didn't really think he fit in that offense. It wouldn't surprise me if Levis gets benched. Then you have the Houston Texans. Am I out of line by calling CJ Stroud a top 5 quarterback? He's definitely top 10. There's no question CJ Stroud is a top 10 quarterback. He might be top 5. I would take him over Brock Purdy. I really would. I would take him over Jared Goff. I mean, how many quarterbacks can you legitimately say that you would want instead of CJ Stroud? Now you add in that he's on a rookie contract. Now you add in he's only a second-year player. How good is CJ Stroud? You want to say 19 points against what I think is a really that Bears defense is for real, folks. The Bears have an average NFL offense. So this is a great question. Should I grab P. Ryan? It's not a bad move because I would pay attention because the Chiefs have a couple of practice squad guys they're going to bring up. They also have Carson Steele. There may be a better option, but P. Ryan's a guy in your league. You have a watch list. You may want to snag him, but there may be some better options because I don't think P. Ryan's going to be that 20 touch a guy running back in the Chiefs offense. I'm not really sure what the Chiefs are going to do. For those of you who don't know, Isaiah Pacheco is going to Isaiah Pacheco is going to go on IR. He's going to be about 6 to 8 weeks. The Chiefs are going to go ahead and P. Ryan's a guy they grabbed. He was cut, so he's been on the Chiefs just for a couple of weeks, but he's been playing a little bit. Carson Steele's another guy, but you probably have some better options. This is so cool, man. This is so cool. This is why. By the way, the energy in Houston right now. And by the way, what a great game coming up. I mean, I kind of want to do with this a little more tomorrow, but Houston at Minnesota. What a great game that's going to be. Trey says he's a little bit nervous about tonight's game. By the way, you should be. It's going to be a good game. If you're an Eagles fan and you think that you're just going to blow the Falcons out, I would be very, very careful against it. I know that the Steelers' offense isn't very good, and I bring that up because was it 16-10 last week against the Steelers? I think the Falcons' defense is a little underrated. The one thing they really lack is a pass rush. But they signed Justin Simmons. It's just a matter of time before he becomes a real dominant part in that secondary. I don't think he's there yet. Jesse Bates, the guy they gave a boatload of money to last year, he's an excellent safety. They got a corner in AJ Terrell that's as good as anybody. AJ Terrell is as good as anybody, and they have some good linebackers. The only thing that the Falcons lack defensively is a pass rush. Now they traded for Judon, and they signed Simmons late, but I think the Falcons defense, once they get all the pieces ironed out, if they can figure out how to use Judon correctly, if they can sign him to a long-term deal, if you give up the third-round pick for a one-year rental, that's dumb. Offensively, they got lots of weapons. When I watch the Falcon or when I watch the Eagles play Green Bay, I see the talent on defense. By the way, what was it? Zach Bond. They moved him inside, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Because I really like Zach Bond, and I thought. I actually, when I heard the Eagles signed him, I thought maybe he was going to play a little deep defensive end. I had no idea. They were going to use him inside because I remember they signed Devin White, and I'm like, okay, well, and I watched him play, and I was like, oh my god, this guy is everywhere. This guy is everywhere. This is going to be a good game. If you're an Eagles fan and you're expecting a blowout, I got a feeling you're going to be disappointed. But I do expect the Eagles to win. And if even if they lose, you're not in bad shape. You're 1-1. Neither Washington or the Giants are any good, and Dallas has some legitimate questions. I think Dallas has some legitimate questions, but Nick Foles, nobody in Philly should ever charge Nick Foles dinner. What a great story. He was in Kansas City for a bit. I actually really liked Nick Foles in college. Played at Arizona. He was a guy. I remember a buddy of mine was trying to Chiefs should have drafted him. He's a 3rd round pick. Kind of bounced around the league for a while, but yeah, I like Nick Foles. Perry, I was hoping you would be here, brother. I'm so glad to see you, man. I am fantastic. Chiefs obviously had a great game. A lot of great games. A lot of great games next week. Some big news. Yeah, the Panthers are benching Young. This makes passing up C.J. Stroud even worse, but this is the right move. It really is. Keep in mind, one thing that you have to realize about the Carolina Panthers is that they got a new general manager. They got a new head coach from last year. The group that drafted Bryce Young, number 1 overall, the general manager is gone. Remember, they brought in Dan Morgan, longtime Panthers linebacker. I actually watched him play University of Miami. Really, 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 really good player. Had a lot of concussion issues. And, he left the game. Now he's a general manager there in Carolina. Dave Canales, Bucs offensive coordinator last year, was in Seattle before that. He's taken over as head coach, and they decided that this isn't working. I go back to this because it used to be that you could get a couple years to have a quarterback develop. We're not really in that era nowadays. And somebody says Jordan Love, that was kind of an exception. Because you have future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers there. Not really sure the Packers handled that correctly, but the last part of the season, this looked, Jordan Love played like they were expecting. But go back to Carson Wentz in Philly, number 2 pick overall, had that great season, and you could tell he wasn't the dude. And even though it costs an arm and a leg to kick him out, you go with Jalen Hurts, and honestly, and as far as the quarterback position is concerned in Philly, you didn't look back. Andy Dalton's more than capable of running that Panthers offense. I think he'll be successful. Now, am I sitting here and telling you the Panthers are a playoff team? No, there's a lot of holes on that team. There's a lot of problems. There's a work in progress. Young is a guy I didn't think had the size, and it had nothing to do with the height. I can care less say he's 5'10". You can play quarterback in the NFL and be 5'10". I don't care what he was listed at. He probably played at Alabama at like 185, 190. I didn't think he had the size to hold up in the NFL. And I think one of the reasons why just pure speculation. I'd have to watch more of individual cut-ups of Bryce Young to figure this out, but I'm just going to speculation. I don't think his body can hold up, and I don't think he can go through progressions because I just think he knows he can't hold up. At Alabama, it's completely different. I mean, you have an NFL offensive line, you have NFL wide receivers, you're playing against college kids. It's so much different because you're going from the best to the best. I mean, the talent they got there really isn't there. I think he's afraid to throw downfield. I don't think he really wants to get hit. And I don't blame him. I mean, I don't blame him. I don't care what he's listed at. He's probably like his natural body weight's probably like 185, 190. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. I thought that he should have like put on the NFL 20, tried to bulk up. He didn't do that. And I think if you're the Carolina Panthers, you have to say, look, we took a swing and a miss. Cut your losses. And all you got to do is just look at Carson Wentz. I mean, this was a guy that had a lot more success to cut their losses. By the way, Mac Jones is in Jacksonville. Kenny Pickett's in Philly. I mean, you can draft a quarterback and move on. And that's what I think Carolina should do. I really do. I think that this is going to be a long-term thing. I really, and by the way, like Andy Dalton's not a bad quarterback. I mean, I think it's funny. I remember watching Andy Dalton when he played at TCU. When he played at TCU, he was a 4-year starter. It was like I think it was like top 5 games played. Of course, now with the COVID year, you have quarterbacks. I think Bo Nix played like 67 games. The guy in Oregon's going to play like almost 70. But I remember when they drafted Andy Dalton, it was rare because he played in like 50 games. I think one TCU seasons he had an undefeated team. So. But I always liked Andy Dalton. I mean, he's not elite. He's not the long-term answer, of course. Is he a better option than Bryce Young? Absolutely. And if I'm Andy Dalton, I embrace it. I try everything I can to, hey, look, keep me around for one more year because you need to figure out something. As far as Bryce Young, is there some value in Bryce Young? Yeah, there is. I mean, there's going to be a team that's going to say, hey, look, this is a former number 1 pick overall. I mean, Trey Lance, the Cowboys got him for a 4th. That's kind of like a semi-precedent of what you can get. I remember Carson Wentz got a 1st from the Colts. You're not getting a 1st from this guy. But is there an NFL team this offseason that'd be willing to give you, a 4th or a 5th? There's going to be somebody out there that's willing to take Bryce Young off your hands. And the Carolina Panthers, they need to do something different. Is there a free agent quarterback? About to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah. The Titans need a quarterback in the draft. If they don't draft in the draft, they need to trade down, get King's ransom, and draft capital in this draft and next go for Arch Manning. Yeah. So I was kind of playing around like mock drafts, but Quinn Ewers, the University of Texas starting quarterback, I could see him being the Tennessee Titans pick if Tennessee has the number 1 pick in the draft. I could see them going Quinn Ewers. If they're not sold on Quinn Ewers, they may want to do some crazy stuff where they trade down, stockpile picks, because Arch Manning, when he comes out, he will be the number 1 pick in the 2026 draft. There's some good quarterbacks. There's another YouTube channel that breaks down college quarterbacks, Jalen Monroe. He's a guy I kind of want to look at a little more. University of Michigan's making a quarterback switch. They got a very athletic, large quarterback that's going to start against USC. Jackson Dart, he's the Ole Miss quarterback. I'm forgetting the name of the kid at USC. He's another guy, could be a 1st-round pick. I think Deion Sanders' kid is still going to be a 1st-rounder, but Deion's been adamant that he's going to be very involved in where he's going to go. And I think, but Quinn Ewers would probably be the guy. By the way, Quinn Ewers would fit that Callahan offense very well. But by the way, look at Texas. Texas could have a first-round quarterback in the 2025, and then Arch Manning, he'll be the number 1 pick in the 2026 draft. Well, let's see what Tennessee does. But, yeah, Will Levis isn't the answer. Will Levis is a guy. It was kind of funny. I was thinking to myself, where would Will Levis, you know where he would fit, and I think he would fit very well would be with the Raiders. Gardner Minshew, by the way, played really well against Baltimore, but Will Levis would be a type of guy that, the Raiders may want to consider. Luke Getsy coming over from Chicago. It kind of looks like he wants to run more of a vertical offense. I haven't broken down the Raiders versus the Ravens completely, but I will say this: Gardner Minshew played amazing, and give the Raiders a lot of credit. But I thought of all the teams that would really kind of excite, Will Levis, I was thinking the Raiders in that offense might be a team. But Tennessee. I fully expect Will Levis to get benched sooner rather than later. And, but I know that Bryce Young's getting benched, and I think Will Levis, it's just sooner or later. He's just not – I knew that this wasn't going to work. I think if the Titans go ahead and bench Levis, I don't know who the backup quarterback is. It's Mason Rudolph. That's another guy I was always really high on. I have no idea why the Steelers – never gave him a legitimate chance. I asked a few Steelers fans. There was one Steelers fan I knew, and I was like, man, I love Mason Rudolph coming out of Oklahoma State. I love this dude. I thought he was going to be great. Like, why don't you want him? And he's like, I don't know. Remember go back to last year where they were like mixing and matching quarterbacks. Mason Rudolph looked the best. He's somebody I think really should get a legitimate chance, but we'll find out. Steelers offense is low scoring. If the Browns can get healthy and the Bengals starting to shake the rust, Steelers and Ravens are in trouble. Look, Pittsburgh's 2-0. Two other teams are 0-2. The Browns. The one thing about the AFC North is that if you're the Bengals, you shouldn't be saying the sky is falling. I mean, Joe Burrow very clearly outplayed Patrick Mahomes. It wasn't even close. I was so impressed with Joe Burrow. I mean, that's a dude right there. You're going to get T. Higgins back. So going into preseason, their rookie left tackle, their rookie tackle, they were going to start him at right tackle. They weren't really sure what to do, but like early on, they were like, this guy could be like an absolute star. No questions about that, but he only played in 8 games. A lot of that had to do with injuries. They were going to take Trent Brown, move him to guard, which was a little interesting. And then you would have Orlando Brown Jr., who's like 355, Trent Brown, who's like 370, 380, and then Marius Mims, who's 340 on that offensive line. Well, you got size on that offensive line, if nothing else. And you had the ability to run the ball. Jamar Chase didn't have a good game, had a very costly penalty. Cincinnati used a lot of 3 tight end sets, which I was really surprised about, but it was very effective. You get T. Higgins back. Jermaine Burton had his first NFL reception, 47-yarder. I really think you need to get him involved. I'm butchering the kid's name out of Penn, but he had 2 touchdowns. It was funny because I did my AFC North video. I had to look up how to pronounce his name, and I was not even close. Before I did the Chiefs-Bengals game live, I forgot to look up how to pronounce his name. So I apologize, Andre. I do know this. He's 6th-round pick out of Penn, and he's a legitimate number 2 in the NFL. He had 2 touchdowns, and the Bengals should have used him a little more. T. Higgins when he comes back. Bengals have a lot of things to be happy about. Okay. Baltimore Ravens, they should be proud of the way they played against Kansas City and very disappointed about the way they played against the Raiders. Up by 10 multiple times in the second half, including with 12 minutes left to go in the game. You're up by 10, and you got Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's running the ball well. You got to close that out when you're at home. You got to close it out. But the one team that you overlooked is maybe the most dangerous team in that division. That's Cleveland. I mean, you're going to get Nick Chubb. When he comes back, he's the best player on that offense. You're playing with 2 backup tackles, not 1, but 2. And that defense is good. You're going to say 33 against Dallas, but there's a punt return, a lot of problems on the offense that put the defense in bad situations. You have Myles Garrett, who I've said for years, I don't think there's a better pure athlete in the NFL. And you got JOK. Grant Delpit's a guy that I fell in love with at LSU. He was on that maybe the greatest college team of all time. And I remember his senior year, he came back his senior year and didn't really look impressive. That's why he's 3rd round pick. He's playing lights out too. There's a lot to like about Cleveland, especially in a couple of weeks. It's funny because I look at Cleveland, and if they can like weather the storm until Nick Chubb comes back and those offensive tackles come back, I I could see Cleveland, like, even if they start off at 2-3 or 3-3, 2-3, somewhere around there. That's a team I don't want to play when they're fully healthy because that defense looks for real. But that AFC North's up for grabs, and the Steelers. We'll have to wait and see because Denver, I don't know if Denver's defense is really good. They didn't really impress, but Seattle looked pretty well. Keaton from Keaton Talks Sports is going to join the final hour, and one of the things we message each other, he goes, I want to talk about my Patriots and Seahawks, and it's like, okay. And I kind of want to hear what he has to say because Seattle's undefeated. Is this a high-powered offense? Because what they did was kind of interesting because they ran the ball a lot against Denver and they were very successful. Well, they barely ran the ball against New England and was very successful. Is this what we're going to see out of Geno Smith for the rest of the year? I've never been high on Geno Smith, never been a Geno Smith dude, but Jackson Smith and the Jigba, JSN, he had over 100 yards. DK Metcalf had over 100 yards. We'll find out. But, that whole AFC North's a lot of fun. Seriously, their storyline, it's funny because the only division I'm looking at that doesn't have a really good storyline is the AFC South, because I got Houston at 2-0, and I got what looks like 3 turds at 0-2. It looks like, it's just, Houston's got, it's hard to believe we're in 2 weeks, and it's like, okay, there's 7 divisions. I got these great storylines, and there's the AFC South, and the only question is with the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans might have that division wrapped up around Thanksgiving. Those look like 3 bad teams. And I was high on Jacksonville. I really was, but you're at home, you're honoring Trevor Lawrence. Put 13 points. Yeah, I know the Browns defense is good. But you put up 13 points at home after a disappointing week 1. Oh, man. Denver Gator! Football nerds unite. Hey, man, that's what we're here for. Denver Gator, the weekly picks video is coming out tomorrow, and I got a special treat for you guys. I should announce that right away, but I got a special treat. I got KTS, Keaton Talks Sports. He's going to be joining us top of hour 3. I really don't think Young is the answer. The Panthers end up with the first overall pick. I agree. And you can get something. You can get something for Bryce Young. I don't know who you get. I don't know who would reach out and say, hey, look, this is the guy. I don't know what NFL teams out there. But somebody will give you something. Trey Lance got a fourth. That's kind of what I think you're looking at. But if you're Carolina, I think you just move on. By the way, you don't need the number 1 overall pick to draft a quarterback. Houston Texans proved that. But you got to get the right guy. And we're going to do a lot of draft stuff here. But the good news is that you're already seeing it. I mean, Arch Manning is a guy that you could position yourself in 2026 to get. So I agree completely. Perry says T-Law needs to step it up. There's no excuse now with the offensive talent on the – yeah, there's no excuse. You got to do better than 13 points. You got to do better than 13 points. You really do. Pacheco is I don't think it's official, but it looks like he's going to be on IR. And not only does it look like he's going to be in IR, it looks like he's going to miss a couple months. ESPN's saying 6 to 8 weeks, and that Kareem Hunt, the Chiefs are going to meet with Kareem Hunt. And this is really interesting because Kareem Hunt was a former 3rd-round pick with the Chiefs, had a couple of Pro Bowl seasons. Then there was rumors that there's a video of him kicking a girl, and he denied it. And then the video got released. And the video looks a lot worse, but he very clearly, he kicks her, but I don't think the foot landed, but it was really bad. So the Chiefs released him, and they said that the main thing that they had a problem with is that he lied to the organization. They said that if he would have came forth and said, hey, look, there's this video out there, they could have worked with it. But since they said he lied to them, they didn't trust him. I will say this, Kareem Hunt looked like a superstar in Kansas City. He really did. Do I expect Kareem Hunt to sign again with the Chiefs? No, I do not. But he is meeting with them. Somebody had a comment, should the Chiefs, for fantasy football, he has CMC. He took CMC number 1 overall. And he said, should I start P. Ryan? It's I don't know. They have a couple of practice squad guys. They have a guy, Keontae Ingram. This was a guy I really liked out of USC. They bring him up. That might be interesting. Carson Steele, the undrafted rookie free agent who's returning kicks. That's another move. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of questions what the Chiefs can do. But, yeah, Pacheco's going to be out. It looks like longer than 4 weeks. I mean, it's not a good – And I keep saying the same thing. Pacheco's a dude. When he plays, he's awesome. But the way he plays, he's always going to miss about 4 weeks. Always. There's a big difference between the NFL and college. Some guys are just great college. Yeah, exactly, Perry. Exactly. I don't think Bryce Young is an NFL quarterback. I actually thought things would work with Dave Canales because I really see a lot of same characteristics that he has that Baker Mayfield has. One thing about Baker Mayfield's 6 foot, but Baker Mayfield's about 220. I mean, Baker Mayfield's he could play in the NFL. I mean, he played really well. Bryce Young, I don't care what he's listed at. He looks like 185. I can't prove this, but Baker Mayfield looks like he put on, quote unquote, the NFL 20. He put on 20 pounds of muscle. No, but he looks bigger in Tampa Bay than he did when he was on Hard Knocks with the Cleveland Browns. He looks like he put on some weight. He looks like he hit the weight room. I don't know how much weight he put on. He looks bigger to me. I was really expecting Bryce Young to put on about 20 pounds of muscle this offseason. Didn't do it. but they got a Bryce Young. I don't have a problem with him being 5'10". I have a problem with that size, and I don't think he can hold up in the NFL. That's just it. And I think it's smart that you bench him now, because I think if Andy Dalton comes in and runs that offense, you just say, okay, Bryce Young's not our answer at quarterback. We have to figure out the quarterback position. Bryce Young does have some trade value. How much? Trey Lance got a 4th round pick from Dallas. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Sorry about that. I shouldn't be doing that here. If the Panthers have Jones, I would play him over Andy Dalton. God, what was that? What was that quarterback's name? And I don't remember if they have him or not. God, what was that? I'm gonna take a look at I'm good. By the way, ESPN's not the best as far as right. So ESPN only has Dalton and Bryce Young. I forgot who the other guy was that they had, but yeah, Andy Dalton can manage that offense. I think Andy Dalton will look significantly better. I think you'll see a big uptick in the Carolina Panthers offense. Is Andy Dalton the long-term answer? No. I think he'll start for the rest of the season. And I thought Carolina should be a lot better, but we'll see what happens. The defense is bad. Perry says, should the 49ers trade Purdy to the Panthers for pick and Young? No. They're going to build the 49ers are going to build around Purdy. That's their answer for the quarterback. I don't think he's elite, but I don't see any reason you want to give up your quarterback for a guy that I don't think I'm playing the NFL. I think Bryce Young is shown enough to show that he just can't. Honestly, if you're Bryce Young, what you want to do is go to a team, be a backup, stay ready, put on the NFL 20, and see if you can stay in the league for a while. Jameis Winston, it's funny. Go watch Jameis Winston when he was on the Saints as a backup. Teammates love him. He's high energy. He's really engaged. Watch him on the Cleveland Browns. He's engaged. He's high energy. Jameis Winston's a guy I think is going to stay in the NFL for 10 more years. Probably going to make about another 30 to 50 million as a backup quarterback. And if something happens to Deshaun Watson, Winston steps in, I think the Browns will be just fine. If I'm Bryce Young, just do that. Be a backup for a little bit. The whole situation in Carolina is bad. Should the 49ers look at him? No, absolutely not. Milrow from Bama and Nico from Tennessee. I haven't watched Nico yet. You've been texting me about Nico, and I haven't had a chance to watch him yet. Tennessee's building something kind of special there. I kind of like what Tennessee's doing, but I haven't had a chance to watch him. Milrow from Alabama, I was watching last year, and I like his size. I like his athleticism. I didn't watch enough of him throwing the ball. What little I saw, I wasn't impressed with the mechanics, but I haven't watched him this year to determine what kind of a draft status I have on him yet. But I like the size, and I like the size. I like the athleticism. I'm not sure about the arm. The guy from Tennessee, Denver Gators, been telling me about this guy for a while. Haven't had a chance to watch him yet. Amazement! You should be happy. Dan, 2-0, baby. Let's go. So I'm gonna bring on Keaton from Keaton Talks Sports, and I want to ask him, like, who's a better MVP candidate, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield? But I'm going to say this: when the Bucks were able to, if I remember correctly, you have to tell me, but I think they signed Baker first, and they got Baker, and I was like, that's a smart move, and the contract was I think team friendly, to be honest with you. But remember, Baker came in last year. He was just brought in to compete. I mean, they didn't give the job to Kyle Trask. He went to some school in the SEC. I don't remember who, but he went to some SEC schools. You know, maybe, I don't know which one it was. I liked him coming out of college, and I thought maybe he's the future. Used second round pick on him. Baker Mayfield beats him out, plays really well, comes in, earns his contract. I think overall team friendly, but a smart move by Baker too, because Baker found a home there in Tampa. Then they did something I didn't expect at all. They signed Mike Evans to a 2-year deal. Then they give Antoine Winfield a ton of money, who didn't play. It was funny. After last Monday's show, I went on Luke G's show and I said, listen, man, I just want to ask you Lions fans, you had a big week 1. You got Tampa coming back to town. Are you going to cover? I think the line started off at 7, ended up at 9. I said, you're going to cover 7. Luke G's like, oh yeah, we're going to win by double digits. And I was like, really? You're gonna. I mean, 7's a big number, you know. I was trying to get him to backtrack. No. We got it. Lions fans can tell you now that, you know, 101 different things. They really were expecting to just stomp on Tampa Bay, and I was thinking about putting some action on Tampa Bay. I didn't make any week 2 bets, by the way, but I was looking at putting some action on Tampa Bay, and I was like, Winfield's out, Sam McCollum may not play. I was like, man, Goff's going to have a big game. I mean, Goff going, you know, on today's show, I was expecting Goff to be like an MVP candidate. Then he what was the numbers? 170 or something? It's like, dude, you got depleted secondary. And this is what you do. Yeah. But I'm going to ask Keaton from Keaton Talks Sports, who's a better MVP candidate right now, Baker Mayfield or Derek Carr. And let's be very clear. Baker Mayfield is an MVP candidate. Let's be very clear about that. Baker Mayfield can be the NFL MVP. We're 2 weeks into the year. Amazement. I want you to enjoy it. And I'm so glad you're in the chat, man. I'm so glad you're in the chat. I just kind of glanced over the bet spread. My picks video will come out tomorrow. We'll break down the games for next week. I'll break down if I have some action for you, because I know you're making some money off the WNBA. I made some money week 1. Didn't do anything week 2. I'm going to see if I'm going to put some action on week 3. Perry, yeah, Caleb Williams did not look good. They're trying to talk him up and stuff. No, he did not look good. If the Chicago Bears have an average offense, just an average offense, that's a playoff team. That defense is so good. That defense is good. They are talented. They got studs everywhere. I know PFF rated Tremaine Edmonds as one of the worst linebackers in football. I don't care. That dude's a stud. I've been a huge Tremaine Edmonds fan for a long time. The dude's like 260, can run a 4.5, and he can do everything. Montez Sweat's made a difference. Gervon Dexter went to another SEC school. Denver Gator can help me out. Gervon Dexter, Denver Gator, where'd he play at? Him and Kyle Trask. Are they Alabama guys? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, there's some things to really like in Chicago. Caleb Williams isn't one of them. And look, it's 2 games. You finally have a guy that's your quarterback in Chicago after years and years and years of not having a guy. He needs to play better. He needs to play better, especially at that defense. Awesome game plans by Bowles. Home. Oh, God. Hutch, was it 4.5 sacks? Hutch almost wrecked our game, but our D stepped up despite injuries. Crossed my fingers. Yeah, that's another thing I'm keeping an eye out on. Vita Veda is injured. Not sure of his situation. ESPN reports day to day. I'm going to keep an eye out on that because they got a big game this next week here. And I mean, we're going to go over that a little more next week, but Denver comes to town. And I know a lot of, if you're a Bucks fan, you're just kind of, check it off the list. Don't be so sure. Don't be so sure. But it's a huge win. Baker Mayfield, legitimate MVP candidate. Very legit MVP candidate. The Bengals need a running back and O-line help in the draft. Well, what they're going to do is, I believe, and I'm going to keep tabs on this because they play on Monday night. They have that dual Monday night thing next week, which I really, really, really hate. But the way I understand it is Armarius Mims is going to start at right tackle. And then Trent Brown, who played at tackle, struggled, is going to move inside. I think the Bengals had like a backup center or something like that. But the Bengals do need some help on the offensive line. I personally just don't think they use Zach Moss enough. I like what little I've seen out of him. There was some rumors that they thought Zach Moss might be an upgrade over Joe Mixon. I like Zach Moss a lot coming out of Utah. He was one of my draft crushes. But I really just think you need to use him more. One thing about the Bengals is that I really think they lean way too much on Joe Burrow. I think they just need to run the ball more, but it wouldn't surprise me if in next year's draft they draft a running back, and then if there's a really good interior offensive line player, Mims is a guy that the only question with him is health. If you were to say, God, build me a NFL tackle, he's building you somebody who looks like Armarius Mims. 6'8", 340, can move like a tight end. Can he stay healthy? Because if he plays the next 15 games at right tackle, he's probably going to be a really, really, really good player. If he can't stay healthy, all right, well, let's because Trent Brown signed a 1-year deal. There's no guarantee he's going to come back, especially if you're moving him inside the guard. But you never know. That's one thing. I don't know if I got an Eagles fan in here that can tell me. But Mekhi Becton, remember he was the 10th or 11th overall pick, or maybe it was 12th. He was going to be the franchise left tackle for the Jets, and he kept on getting injured. Of course, then they brought in Salah. They brought in offense that doesn't really fit what he does well. Kept on getting injured, was cut. Eagles picked him up, moved him to guard, and then I forget who it was that got hurt, and Becton was just getting some reps, but then they're like, hey, wait a minute, you're pretty good. Now he's a starter, and I think he's playing really well. I'd have to have an Eagles fan tell me. I kind of want to watch that on Monday Night Football because Becton was a dude. If you remember at the combine, he was like 370, he ran it was like 501 or something. And it's like, wait a minute, you're 370 and you're moving like that? Couldn't stay healthy with the Jets was really the only thing preventing him. But I thought he was more of a natural right tackle than left tackle. Eagles moved him inside the guard, and I mean this could be something that the Eagles just strike gold with. Something I'm going to watch on Monday night. At Denver Gator, I hope we buy out Napier's contract. Empty seats in the third quarter should send them a message. Yeah, I never liked the Napier signing. I mean, you're University of Florida. Look, I consider Denver Gator a friend. It's funny. We text each other, and he was adamant that, hey, look, we need a guy like Napier. We've had the big names. We need a guy that knows X's. No, you need a big name. You need a big name. I'm not a Florida fan. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon, but college football is always better when Florida is ranked. The swamp is iconic. College football is always better when the University of Florida is a ranked team. You need a big name. Billy Napier's not it. You don't need an X's and O's guys. You need a big name. Ideally, you like to get best of both worlds. Bill O'Brien, what he's doing up there in Boston College, that would be the guy that I would. What do you want? You want $15 million a year? Fine. Come down. By the way, it'll probably take 10 plus million a year. I think he's happy in Boston College, to be honest with you. One of the things a lot of people don't know is Boston College is a public school. It's not a private school. It's like one of the largest public schools in the country. He's not getting that big time deal. Remember the former head coach for Boston College quit to be the Packers defensive coordinator. The Packers weren't going, hey, we're going to give you $12 million a year to be Packers defensive coordinator. Green Bay wasn't doing that. So, Bill O'Brien's not getting a large amount of money from Boston College, but, he likes the area. By the way, Boston College is a tough place to recruit at. I don't care how good of a coach you are. You can't land like 5-star talent and sell them on Boston College. There's 0% chance you're getting a 5-star kid from Texas and going, hey, you can come to Boston College. But remember, I don't know if you remember this or not, but Christian Hackenberg, he was the number one player coming out of the country, Bill O'Brien convinced him to come to Penn State. This was right fresh off of that. I'm going to call it scandal. But I used to be the biggest Penn State fan in the world. Then after that whole situation, it's just not the same. I can't. I used to love Penn State. I used to have like Penn State everything. A buddy of mine, hopefully I see him in the chat today. Just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Tim. Late, but got me a Penn State throw rug. I used to have jackets, windbreakers. I had like 7 Penn State hats. Just couldn't do it. No, I don't hate Penn State, but I'm no longer a fan. Point is, Bill O'Brien came there. He got the number one player in the country to come there, but that's different. It's Penn State. You're playing around 109,000 people. Penn State or Boston College, you're not going to be able to do that. Don't get me wrong. You may be able to recruit, but you're not getting 5-star players from Texas. You're not getting the 5-star talent from California. You're not getting that 5-star talent from Georgia and Florida. Can you win 8 to 10 games every year at Boston College? Sure. Yeah. Can you get a bunch of 2- and 3-star guys, from Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio? Yeah. Can you get some 4-star players? Sure. Can you get that occasional 5-star dude? Maybe. Florida can get all those guys. Florida can recruit nationally. But yeah, they need to do something. Guys, we are done with the first hour here. I'm going to take a very quick commercial break. I'm going to recap with hour 2 of Afternoon Delight. Stay tuned. As Afternoon Delight takes a commercial break, we remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate. The video in the description below shows how easy and fast it is to collect your bonus. Click on the link in the description below and start winning today. A friendly reminder that my award-winning NFL Weekly Picks video is being released tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Make sure you watch it. If you watch it twice, Today's guest, Keaton from Keaton Talks Sports, will pay you $100. Well, that isn't true, but the video will be awesome. Make sure you check it out. Use the notification icon to make sure that you comment first. The first person to comment wins $1 million. Well, that isn't true, but it is true that it's going to be a great video, and it's being released tomorrow. All right. Hour 1 is in the books. We got back with hour 2 of Afternoon Delight, and you definitely want to stay tuned for hour 3 because I got Keaton from Keaton Talks Sports. He's coming in live. It's going to be great. So definitely want to stay tuned for that. Perry's going to come in. He says that we lost because of golf. I really thought that when I saw all those I really thought when I saw all those injuries in the secondary for the Bucks, I really thought Goff could have had a great day. I saw a clip where I think you guys were inside the 10 and you ran a fake punt and it worked. And I remember thinking that's dumb and it's a bad message. And what it is that it's not aggressive. You're sending a message that offensively you don't have enough faith in your offense. You're sending a message that we don't have enough faith in our defense. When you do things like that, you're sending a message to your team you just don't have you just don't have faith in them, and that you have to trick a team. This, by the way, those things are good if you're an underdog. When you're a 9-point favorite against a beat-up team, you don't do things like that. Dan Campbell, after the game, said the loss was on him, and he's right. Look, Goff is a good quarterback. He really is. His very ceiling is probably 10 to 12. I was just talking, I mean, seriously, how put CJ Stroud on the Lions, you win that game. Put Baker Mayfield on the Lions, you win that game. Yeah, Dan Campbell really hurt you guys. There is no way you should have lost that game. But give a lot of credit to Tampa Bay. That's actually one of the first things I'm going to ask is, Keaton Talk Sports. You got Bucks, you got the Eagles, or you got the Bucks, and you got the Saints in that NFC South. I mean, what storyline's better? But so I got done trashing the Lions. Let me say some positive things about the Detroit Lions, and I apologize. I'm really behind on comments here. You are aware that you lost week 2 last year, right? Seattle came in, put up 37 on you. Things ended up fine. Won 12 games, went to the NFC Championship. Don't jump ship yet. All right. A lot of questions here. I apologize. I'm going to try to read everything. I'm going to try to get all the questions out here. What 0-2 team has issues? I'm thinking Ravens and that offensive line. Bengals already start slow, but figure it out. Yeah, the Bengals, I wouldn't panic if I was the Bengals. The Ravens offensive line's an issue. Look, you're up by 10 in the fourth quarter. You got to close that out. Yeah. The Seahawks do have good offensive talent. Because one thing, Keaton Talk Sports, he's going to come in on the top of hour 3, and he was adamant he wanted to talk about that game. Yeah. I mean, I kind of told you so. No, I get it. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you need a big name. I think Bill O'Brien would be the guy. So maybe even the head coach of University of Central Florida. I don't know who that is. Off the top of my head, I can't think of who that is. UAB, which played Arkansas pretty tough, as Trent Dilfer. Now it's funny because he played at Fresno State, so I'm kind of thinking that the next job he get will be with a school out on the West Coast, especially if Fresno State joins the Pac-12. But yeah. But Trent Dilfer is a guy I think it's going to take a bigger job coming up soon. I don't know who the USC. Yeah, but Bill O'Brien is the guy that I would circle. I would really circle. Kansas City needs to draft a running back in the draft. I think Hunt and Kinsey makes sense for both sides. Hunt can turn his career around. I agree completely. I know the Chiefs organization was just really disappointed in that whole thing. The video is bad, but you may be able to make up for it. It's hard to say. One thing Kansas City's been able to do is find running backs through free agency. That's something that's been kind of an Andy Reid staple. Remember a couple of years ago they drafted CEH in the first round. He's on IR. He'll come back in a couple of weeks. He's not on. He's having some mental issues or something like that. But the Chiefs did draft a running back in the first round. It's been a bust. Pacheco was a 7th round pick. So I think what the Chiefs are doing is that they've decided that running back's going to be an afterthought. They're going to take guys later in the draft. They're going to take free agents. Look, they're giving Kelsey a lot of money, 1 catch, 5 yards. Somebody asked me in the chat yesterday, if I'm fantasy football owner, should I be worried about Kelsey? The answer is yeah, absolutely should. You got a guy who has 4 catches and I think 30 or 40 yards after 2 games. Probably took him high. I've been saying this for a while. I think Travis Kelce. This is Travis Kelce's last year as a Chief, and he's not going to play for another team, but look, he turns 35 soon. Me and Travis Kelce share a birthday. But I don't think Kansas City's going to draft a running back. Dan, seems like what Chiefs just find a way to win now, despite quarterback play in Kelce and run game. It's mainly a defense that wins for Kansas City and offense doing just enough and not fourth quarter mistakes. It's it's also Harrison Butker. There's a big reason why the Chiefs made him the highest paid kicker in the NFL, despite of all those angry feminists demanding the Chiefs cut him. No, he's Butker's here for a long time, and that's why. You got great special teams unit. You have a really great defense. And by the way, look at every single dynasty ever. Same blueprint. Really great defense, Hall of Fame quarterback. Go back to Packers of the 60s, one of the greatest defenses of all time, Bart Starr. A lot of people think, Bart Starr, they kind of, because at the time, maybe the greatest Packers quarterback of all time. That's saying a lot. Steelers of the 70s, Steel Curtin, Terry Bradshaw, Hall of Fame. 80s, really underrated defense with the 49ers, Joe Montana. 90s, Dallas Cowboys, really, really good defensive unit. Not a lot of Hall of Famers, but go back and look at the stats. Troy Aikman, Hall of Fame quarterback. Great offensive line, too. Patriots and Belichick, multiple Hall of Famers all along that defense. Defensive-minded coach. And Tom Brady. Kansas City Chiefs realized early on what they've done is actually really genius. Is that they invest a lot of money and a lot of draft capital into their defensive line. They get some really good 3-down linebackers, and they just draft defensive backs and find defensive backs every single year. They traded up in the draft to get Trent McDuffie. They beat Buffalo They traded up with Kansas City to get Trent McDuffie. Buffalo wanted him. They tried saying, "Oh, Khalil Elam was the guy we wanted. We wanted him instead." No, they didn't. No, they didn't. It's actually funny when the Chiefs traded up to draft McDuffie. I thought they were going to draft Jermaine Johnson. That's something I haven't even talked about yet. But Jermaine Johnson out for the year. Hassan Reddick, who's with the Jets traded for him. He hasn't signed yet. Well, actually, he's under contract. He's just holding out for an extension. Now that's going to be a shit show. Red Sea, Corey! Out of all the things that I didn't see happening, Arizona, what was, can you help me out here? Let me do, I don't even remember off the top of my head here. I have to look this up. 41-10. 41-10. And honestly, maybe he should have beat the Bills. Maybe he should beat the Bills. If you are a Cardinals fan, you have to be excited. If you're a Rams fan, I mean, I was thinking, oh, you'll rebound. Yeah, I picked the Rams to win. Now you're 0-2, and you're like, oh God, man. I mean, how much longer do we get? Stafford, Nakuta's out, off the line banged up. By the way, your other first round pick, Darius Robinson, I think he's still out. Darius Robinson's a guy I loved coming out of MU, one of my big draft crushes. Mayfield's playing MVP. Yeah. They did this last year. They did last year and the year before that. Last year, 2 years ago, they drafted Cody Mock, and then God, I'm almost positive they got somebody in this year's draft. And then free agency, they also picked up somebody. Tampa Bay's made a lot of really low-key moves that I really liked. But yeah, this year, Graham Barton, I can't believe I forgot him already. Graham Barton in the first round this year, day one starter at center, massive upgrade. Cody Mock last year, a lot of people thought he could have gone in the first round, including myself. He's a starter on that offensive line. Tristan Wirfs moved over to the left side. Luke Godney or whatever. I think he was out. But yeah, they've been investing a lot of draft capital. Graham Barton, day one starter in the offensive line, really, really great move. Really, really great move. Yeah, but the Bucs have been doing some low-key things in the draft that are really, really good. Yeah, he's using his legs more. His mobility is underrated. He's not Lamar Jackson, never will be, but I like the way that they're using him offensively. It's interesting that you think Bucky Irvin may take over, because I really like Rachaad White. I really think that he will finally go over 1,000 yards rushing, but the last 2 years the Bucs were dead last in the NFL in rushing. That won't happen this year. Seeing Stafford and McVay lose is very good. oh yeah, your Yaya Digby. I don't know what kind of game he had. He was a guy I loved coming out of Louisville. Vita Veda, I love that guy. Joe Tyron was a guy I really loved. I think he had a good game. But yeah, a lot of your draft picks. Graham Barton, really doing a good job too. Yeah, but I mean, I had no idea that you're. So here's the deal. I thought it was either Mayfield or Evans. You're able to keep them both. Made a smart move. I don't care he didn't play. Antoine Winfield, signing him to a big time deal. And another thing is that this is a defensive heavy draft. I fully expect that in this draft, even if you're picking late, you'll be able to get a really good defensive player. I'm looking at maybe get a corner, maybe add another edge rusher. We'll take a look, because I think Joe Tyron, this is year 4. I don't know if you're ready to pick up that 5th-year option on him yet. Let's find out. But Tampa Bay's put themselves in a really, really good situation. Baker Mayfield, the contract you signed him on now is looking super team friendly. Got Mike Evans for one more year. You still got Godwin, and you keep adding to that offensive line. Really liked what the Bucs are doing. Really underrated team. Corey says Lions were the better team against the Bucs, just shot off their feet whenever in scoring position. You remember, I was trying to, I can look this up pretty easily, but the name should come to me. The Bucs, when they had that terrible Super Bowl victory that everybody hated, remember their offensive coordinator, he was brought in by their head coach. Forgetting all those guys' names. Here I am, hour 15 into the show, and I'm just forgetting names left and right. You know what? I'm just I hate to do this, but I'm gonna have to look this up here. But when the Bucs won the Super Bowl, all right, I can't believe I forget his name. Byron Leftwich. All right, let's go back to 2021. Byron Leftwich. Remember Byron Leftwich, offensive coordinator, hot name. Bruce Arians brought him over from Arizona, was quarterbacks coach, former NFL quarterback, really smart dude, just, couldn't play in the league. Really hot name. Passed up being a head coach, was going to wait. Brady retires. He gets fired. I don't even know what he's doing now. Ben Johnson, the hottest name, interviewed with teams, reportedly was going to get the Washington job, asked for $15 million a year, and Washington said no. Debatable, whatever. Is he going to get an opportunity like he had last offseason, or does it look like he passed, maybe passed up $15 million? Somebody told me that he maybe didn't want to be a head coach. Hey, you know what? I don't think you pass up $10 million a year, because let's say things don't work out, you can always go back to being an offensive coordinator somewhere else. I mean, through 2 weeks that Ben Johnson being that big candidate, that's kind of died out. But Corey, I didn't have a chance to watch the whole game, but it's interesting you thought that the Lions were the better team. Really, really, really interesting that you said that, because I really thought, I said this before the season, the Lions were my pick to go to the Super Bowl. I think that there's talent everywhere. I thought with all the injuries in the Bucs secondary, I was really expecting Goff to have a big day. Corey, it's so good to see you, brother. By the way, Dan, I nailed that Niners pick, taking the points, and my Bucs getting 7-5. Seriously, right before kickoff, it was 9 at BetUS, and I was tempted because it was Minnesota in 5, and Minnesota's a tough team at home, but I'm glad you nailed that. I didn't put any action down on week 2, but once I saw 9, I was tempted to take 9, but I didn't do that. So. Yeah, it was BetUS had 9. BetUS had 9. If Murray can stay focused, Cards fighting for a division in Milwaukee. Absolutely. Absolutely. Darius Robinson. So you had Marvin Harrison Jr. finally showed up. They decided, hey, maybe we drafted him 4th overall for a reason. You have your other first-round draft pick, Darius Robinson. I don't think he's played yet. And this is a guy this is a dude who played outside. He's an outside linebacker, but he's like 285 at Missouri. They used him all over that defensive line. He's a guy that can come in and play multiple positions, athletics, powerful. You're in a division traditionally that's been a run heavy division in the NFC West. You want to have guys that can rush the quarterback that are bigger. And Darius Robinson's a guy that I really had a big crush on. I told people your 3rd round pick, Trey Benson, was a guy that I kind of want to watch over. I don't know what he did, but I know I think he's going to play more and more as the season goes along. The there's a lot to like in Arizona. Remember, they were just trading players, getting all those draft picks, and it looks like, the Marvin Harrison pick hit. I like what they did to Trey Benson. I think some of their later round picks hit as well. Just wait till Darius Robinson gets involved. Yeah. I mean, listen, that NFC West, I really think could be up for grabs. Keaton Talks Sports is dying. Keaton Talks Sports is dying to talk about Seattle, New England, and I want to hear what he has to say, because I'm on a level with you. I know Seattle's 2-0. I'm not sold on them. I do like that week 1 they ran the ball a lot and won. I like week 2 they didn't have Kenneth Murray, so I had to throw the ball a lot and won. I'm still not sold on the defense, and I'm not a Geno Smith dude. I've never been a Geno Smith guy. But I'm not. I mean, look, Jackson Smith and Jigba had over 100. DK Metcalf had over 100. I still say Tyler Lockett's the best one. I know he had like two receptions for, I think, 20, 30 yards. I don't care. I still think he's the best one. That said, he's 32 or 33. I mean, maybe, Father Time caught up with him. Maybe he's not the same dude anymore. By the way, Seattle is a team that can still improve. I'm just not sold on them yet. I want to wait till KTS comes on and hear what he has to say, because he may say, "Hey, listen, we should have beat them. We had plenty of opportunities." I want to hear what he has to say. Oh God, actually, Colin signed a deal this offseason, and he got paid. I think it was, I can't remember if it was this year or last year, but he already got paid. His next contract's going to be huge. He's going to break the bank the next contract. Genoa Bolindres, GB. Who has the worst quarterback situation? Underperforming young quarterbacks like Levis or the Browns with Deshaun. The problem is, I say the same thing with Cleveland. I'm going to keep echoing the narrative. I want to wait till you get your tackles back. I want to wait till you get Nick Chubb back. Then if Deshaun Watson is, in that offense still scoring 20 points a game, then I have some issues. Will Levis is not the answer in Tennessee. I've been saying this all along. You brought in Callahan, who looks like he's going to bring in the Bengals offense. It's a quick rhythm, just ding, 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 ding type of offense. It's watch. I don't know if you got a chance. You watch Cincinnati against Kansas City, and it's not. Burrow did throw a few long passes, but for the most part, you're throwing to receivers before they got your breaks. It's a lot of quick reads. That's not Will Levis's game. Will Levis has always been a big dude with a big arm. But even in college, you weren't like, oh no, Will Levis is throwing 50 times against us. You weren't thinking that, and putting him in a situation like that in Tennessee. Apparently, Callahan and Levis got into it, and I think it's just I think it's a matter of time for Levis gets benched. And Mason Rudolph is a dude who I loved coming out of college. Played at Oklahoma State. It's kind of funny because I was really impressed with Mason Rudolph in the game that won Baker his Heisman. Oklahoma played Oklahoma State in Bedlam, and Baker Mayfield had 500 yards, 8 touchdowns. But he was throwing the CeeDee Lamb, Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, Orlando Brown Jr. was his left tackle. I think his running back may have been Joe Mixon. Not sure if it may have been I think a different running back. No, it was his running back, P. Ryan. Mason Rudolph didn't have any of that and had over 407 touchdowns. 7 or 6. It was like a 63-56 game. It was something crazy. But that game won Baker his Heisman. That cemented it, because Baker was kind of neck and neck, and then Baker did 508 touchdowns. So yeah. It was kind of funny. His backup quarterback I thought was better, and people were laughing. I said, listen, his backup, Baker's backup, might be better. It was Kyler Murray, by the way. But yeah, it's just a matter of time before Levis gets benched. With Deshaun Watson, I want to wait till they get their starting tackles in play. I don't know what's going on with Amari Cooper. I know he had like 2 receptions, 12 yards. Jerry Jeudy had another halfway decent game. Nick Chubb's what that team revolves around. Does he come back? Is he 100%? And then I think Carolina's smart. I would try to get rid of Young. Either I don't know what their quarterback situation's like. I went to ESPN, and they only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster. I think what I would do if I was Carolina after this season's over, just start making phone calls, get rid of him, and probably the most you'll get for Bryce Young would be a 4th. But yeah, great question. Perry, I'm assuming you're referring to the off the field concerns. Hey, Red Sea, we were in the Chiefs live stream last night, keeping up the Arizona score. We're debating how much partying. Oh yeah, we were talking about that. We were talking about that quite a bit, man. God, I did not. I seriously. I miss that actually, man. I miss that too. Sorry, this is on me because I'm behind on comments. So I'm trying to answer all the questions. I also try to go through everything one at a time. So that's on me. Yeah, who would have thought that the NFC South's bringing in multiple people? If Hutch wasn't going nuts, racking up sacks, and probably win comfortably. We spent a lot of time preparing for that Lions game after last year's divisional playoff game. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking that after that last year's loss, a lot of Lions fans are thinking, oh, we beat them by 8 last year. You guys are coming in injury riddled. We're coming in healthy. But yeah, PFS is a joke. Everyone blasted my Chargers that we don't have Keenan Allen and company anymore, but look at what's happening. He isn't really doing. So he was injured. And I've always been a huge Keenan Allen fan. Always been a huge Keenan Allen fan. But he's had problems staying healthy the last couple of years. Didn't play in last week's game. I don't know if that would have helped because I don't think Caleb Williams is the dude. I've been telling everybody who plays fantasy football, as long as J.K. Dobbins is healthy, he's a number 1 running back. As long as he's healthy, he's a top 10 running back. And people are like, who? What? Huh? Listen, if J.K. Dobbins is healthy and he's been injured more than he's played, but when he's healthy, that is a top 10 running back. Joe Alt, great pick at 5. Rashawn Slater, he looked like an all-pro as a rookie, got injured year 2. Last year, wasn't the same dude. He might be the same dude. By the way, GB, I know Herbert got hurt, but I don't think it'll be any issues. So, Cap for life, Dan. I need a good prop bet tonight. Talk to me. What do you have available? What prop bets do you have available? The only, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I would really have anything, because Saquon Barkley is coming off of a 100-yard performance. All right. I'm not sold on Green Bay's defense at all. I think Atlanta might have a better defense. So I don't know if I want to take a Barkley prop bet. I know AJ Brown is out. Do I want to put an action on Devontae Smith, Jameer Dotson? I don't know how much he knows the offense, doesn't know it. Dallas Goedert is a guy that I might be interested in putting a prop bet for. I don't know what the numbers are. One thing about BetUS is that they don't do a lot of player prop bets. So Dallas Goedert would be one I'd kind of look at. I think the numbers with him probably like 45 to 49. That might be one. I think Goddard could have a big game. Drake, this may be a game. Drake London has a decent game. I can't, an hour 30 into it. I'm drawing a blank. Quinion Mitchell, I think he's going to be a star, but I think it'll take him a little bit of time to get adjusted. They may put him one-on-one against Drake London. I want to see what Kyle Pitts. Another thing, John Robinson, I expect to have a lot of touches in today's game. I think John Robinson will have a lot of touches. I don't know about. There's a lot of question marks on Atlanta. I'll be honest with you. I just think the world of A.J. Brown. I just think the world of A.J. Brown, and with him being out, there's a lot of questions that I have. With Atlanta, I have no idea what to expect. I really don't. If you really need a prop bet, I would take a look. John Robinson total yards would be interesting. Drake London, keep in mind his numbers, probably 60, 70, I would be interested. Kyle Pitts, this may be a fun day for Kyle Pitts. I don't really have one, man. Who's wager worthy? I brought up a running back to a buddy of mine who has CMC. He's like, Dan, who do I have? I recommended Antonio Gibson. Had 96 yards on the ground, had a few receptions. I think they're going to use him a lot more. Andy Dalton, I don't think is a bad pickup if you're struggling. Sooner or later, he's going to be putting up some numbers. Keep in mind, the Carolina Panthers do have some young talent on offense. Bryce Young's an issue, so keep in mind Xavier Legette. You could probably get like. I'm not going to tell you Xavier Legette would be a guy I would start. You may be able to grab him, and I would wait till like maybe week 4 or 5, and you may be able to sneak him in as a wide receiver number 2. P. Ryan for the Chiefs might be interesting. I kind of want to hold off and see what you're getting there. Mike Gesicki, 7 catches, 91 yards against the Chiefs. That looked really interesting. That would be a guy. What position are you looking for, Cap for Life, man? Glad to see you in the chat, brother. Sorry it took me a while to get to your comment, a little behind. I'm thinking we're going to have a rough year. Golf needs, start playing better fast. Ben Johnson needs to use run game more, get Laporta involved, do some adjustments on the fly. Dan Campbell needs to smarten up and make better game plans, adjust better, start players on offense. Keep in mind, Perry, listen, man, you were 1-1 last year. You're 1-1 last year. Things ended up just being fine, so. Star weapons offense have a hard time when the quarterback's playing like a backup quarterback. Funk, I'm so glad to see you, man. I know it's a little weird coming in the afternoon instead of Friday night, but I'm so glad to see you in the chat. The front 7 for Tampa is good. Todd Bowles, excellent coach. I think Antoine Winfield's probably the best safety in football. You can argue that. Really good player. Him being out, I really was expecting Goff to kind of take over. And the one thing about Goff is that he's not elite. He's really not. It's kind of funny because I do think Hendon Hooker has all the tools, but when you give Goff that type of money, he's your guy. But yeah, but full disclosure, I only saw clips. I didn't watch the whole game. According to Corey Ate, the Reds C, according to Corey, he said that the Lions outplayed them. So, Merritt, I read see when Mary cares about playing the problem this season would have been the work to be a great film. So he was called, yeah. Okay. Perry, you've been sheeped by the media. Anyone who follows this team will tell you that Murray's always cared about the game. His last GM was a complete joke. And by the way, they did make some moves in the front office. They weren't happy. The owner wasn't. The owner's really involved with the team. The owner was not happy about that. So, and this is the whole reason why I created this channel, is because I don't know a lot of the inside information. So Corey, hardcore Cardinals fan, has a lot of inside information here, and this is the whole point about how I want to get information from 32 teams, because I didn't know this. I was buying into the stories too, that, by the way, and this all started because here's how me and Corey found each other. When the Cardinals had number one pick in the draft, we really thought that the move to make, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, Corey, but we really thought the year before they used the 10th overall pick on the other Josh, the kid out of UCLA. I'm drawing a blank on his name. It was Josh Allen. And it was Josh somebody else. And the Cardinals drafted him, and he was in a bad spot. I forget the kid's name. And we didn't think that the Cardinals should use the 10th overall pick on a quarterback, have the number one pick in the draft, and then just draft another quarterback. But that's what the Cardinals did. And by the way, it was the right move, because this kid bounced around the NFL, and the rumors are that this guy look, if you're a former first-round pick and you end up just being moved year to year, there's a problem. There's a legit problem. That's what happened with this kid. I can't think of the kid's name, but I loved him coming out of UCLA. I thought he was going to be a really good player. I didn't blame his bad rookie season, because he got thrown in the fire in Arizona, and I didn't blame him at all. But me and Corey met because we didn't like Kyler Murray. We were both wrong. Sorry to throw you under the bus, Corey. But the rumors came from a inside source. And by the way, like one thing about Kyler Murray is that I remember he didn't interview well at all, and that's something that you don't like to see. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, when you're a five-star player like Kyler Murray was, high school and college, you're given classes on how to deal with the media. And Kyler Murray was like comically bad, like before the draft, like there, because remember he was going to play baseball. The A's gave him like $4.5 million, and he was going to play baseball. And then he was like, well, he talked to some people, and it's like, look, you can you can take $4.5 million, you can play some minor league ball, or you can be the number one pick in the draft, and in a couple of years from now, you can be making 40 to 50 million a year. And he went that route. Murray, when he plays, I didn't watch the game against the Rams, on full disclosure, but when he plays and he's at his best, he's an MVP caliber player. He's looked really good. Now you gave him a guy in Marvin Harrison Jr. who looks like he could be a star. The defense is getting together. They have a lot of draft capital. They're building up the offensive line. I personally think, even though they crushed the Rams, which I predicted, I look like a moron now, but I predicted would win the NFC West. I'm still not sure that they're here yet. But the one thing about Kyler Murray is I do think he's a franchise quarterback. I really do. I want to make sure he stays healthy, but Yeah. Hopefully I answered your questions. Goff got paid in LA and fell off due to Lexi falling again. Everybody talks about streak without pick, but they ignored the drop interceptions. Funk's been a guy who's never been sold on Goff completely. I wasn't sure that it was kind of weird because the Lions I thought would pay Amon-Ra or Penei Sewell. I thought they'd pay Amon-Ra this year and play hardball Penei Sewell. They did both. They signed them both, and I'm like, well, you can't pay Goff. Then they go ahead and pay Goff. Okay. There's a lot of guys that once they get that paycheck, their play drops. And by the way, that did happen in LA too. He had his rookie deal, then he had his second contract. He had a great season too. He had this fantastic season in LA. And it was kind of weird because he had that fantastic season and he's got McVay and he's got weapons and his play just kind of started to dip. Just remember, Funk, you went 1-1 last year, and after you went 1-1, you ended up, 12-5 NFC Championship game. So, the sky's not falling. But and keep in mind, you got a lot of youth on defense. So but you have a good opportunity. And we'll talk about this a little more next week. But I mean, you have a really good opportunity. It's going to be a fun game. But matter of fact, this is going to be a fun one. Detroit plays Arizona. So. I think Cards and Seahawks are fighting for the NFC West division. 49ers are the third best team in the NFC West right now. The Rams are in injury, right? I really want to see what happens more in the future. I want to see more of what's going on. It's only 2 weeks. It's only 2 weeks. I'm not sold on Seattle, and I want to see a little more from the Cardinals, but I'm beginning to look at week 1, and I'm like, maybe that game against Buffalo is more accurate than people think. Top of hour number 3, I got KTS joining, and he said he wanted to go into a little more detail about the Patriots and Seahawks. So I really want to hear what he says about Seattle. Can we talk about how Staley joined the Niners and now they're crap? Well, they only lost 1 game against what could be a really good Minnesota team. So, but to wait and see. I don't know how we could just write that off yet. But I'm not writing off the 49ers yet. But give kudos to Minnesota. Ouch. Funk says 7 trips into the red zone. I didn't know that. I did see the final play of the game where he bounced that ball, and you brought it up, and I brought it up. He doesn't have that elite arm. Dan Campbell took credit for the loss. Should have took credit for the loss too. I'm Corey. I'm the same way. I'm not sold in Seattle at all. Goff's like, oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. All the Goff slappies are out blaming Goff and blaming Ben Johnson. The difference from last year is we beat Kansas City in a great first game this season and barely beat a bad. That is true. That is true. This is so awesome. No. I'm going to level with you, Perry. What NFL team is going, oh, we need Goff? I mean, you really think Carolina wants to trade for Goff in that deal? So Travis K is 35. It came to, well, actually, so here's what happened. The Chiefs actually gave him a 2-year, $35 million extension, and now they're really regretting it. They're really regretting it. But here's the deal. Kelsey's always played if you look at Travis Kelce's number as a wide receiver, he's always been underpaid because he makes, half of what the elite receivers make. So the Chiefs, really, showed their appreciation. They gave him an extension. But yeah, I've been trying to tell people, like, I've watched Kelce play for a long time. I watched his whole career. He's not the same dude he was a couple of years ago. He's drastically slowing down. But the one thing I want to say, Lou Anarumo, the Bengals defensive coordinator, he has the blueprint on how to stifle Mahomes. I mean, this was one of Mahomes' worst game ever. So we have more to see, but I mean, Travis Kelce is going to be 35 in a couple of weeks. We share a birthday, so no, they're not going to trade him or anything like that. So the Chiefs organization loves Kelce. So at Red Sea, I think the defense is good. The question is, can Smith run the offense on a consistent basis? The Seahawks have excellent talent on offense. I'm not sold on the defense. So the way a no trade clause works is Goff has to agree to go to a team, so they're probably stuck with him unless and John. So is there a team out there that's not the Detroit Lions that wants to give Goff $50 million? That's the problem. So with the Lions, we can never get a balanced good offense and defense if our offense is good or defensive. Yeah. Irvine could develop into a starter, a solid starter. Which one's Irvine? And I'm sorry, I got I'm really behind on comments here, so I'm trying to make sure I get all the questions in here. Perry, all the slappies are crying Goff was asked to throw too many times. I like to ask, why did they pay him elite money? You're 100% right. When you pay him that much money, you expect him to throw the ball 50 times. I was expecting him to throw more than run more, because one thing about the Bucs defense, especially last year, is they had one of the best running defenses, but they gave up a lot of passing yards. I said I wasn't really worried about that, because usually when you give up a lot of passing yards, it's because you're trying to hold on to a lead. You're playing prevent defense, Todd Bowles staple, but I really thought Goff was going to have a good game. Absolutely. Slasher says no AJ Brown. I'm still confident in Barkley, Smith, and Goddard. I am too. I would be shocked, really, if the Eagles lost this game. But I want to see what Atlanta has. That Steelers defense could be legitimate great. TJ Watt is awesome. It could also be that Denver's offense is bad. Keaton, he wants to talk about both those games when he joins on here in about 10 minutes. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. I have some questions about this game, but yeah, I'm excited about it, man. Slash, I'm so happy to see you, brother. So happy to see you, man. Dan, it's not even debatable. The Lions outgained the Bucs by 200 yards, just couldn't cash in. Really? Win a Super Bowl in Detroit, make you a legend. Yeah, I told some people, like, Gibson's guy on waiver wires, I would be I was kind of leaning on as, like, you may want to pick up. Ben Johnson turned down the jobs. He dropped out of the head coach thing when he still had interviews, said the Lions had unfinished. Yeah, so Funk, here's the drill. That's what he told the press. I'm not sure I believe that completely, and I know that's what he said. I'm not 100% sure that's true, but the way things look like right now. Remember, Byron Leftwich had a lot of head coaching interviews, wanted to stay in Tampa Bay, ended up being a mistake, and right now it kind of looks like Ben Johnson's making that same mistake. When you interview. By the way, in an interview, it's an extensive process. It's not like he just threw out a resume and made a phone call. Like he spent a lot of time with these teams. So I mean, it wasn't like you don't interview without being interested. I think there's a little more to it than He has unfinished business. I think that sounds good, and it's what you should say. I really don't believe it. I don't believe it. So, but I still look at that line. Look, you're 1-1 last year, and you turned things around, and you're 12-5, and I mean the Lions have all the ability in the world. Not only the Lions have the ability in the world to bounce back. I mean, this is a fun game next week. Detroit at Arizona, real fun game. I mean, I'm looking forward to that Cardinals Lions game. It's going to be a good one. We're going to talk about that a little more tomorrow. At Red Sea, if our D-line can sack better and our star players play up the talent we should have won, the Lions are rusty and need to return to form. It's going to be a really great game. Lions had 5 sacks and a pick and held the Bucs under 225 yards. If I told anyone the defense was going to do that, there's no one. Yeah, I was among them. I thought that with Winfield out, one of their corners is out. Zane McCallum was borderline. I personally didn't think, I personally didn't think that, the Bucs really had a chance, but I give them credit. Give the Bucs some credit. Like that's a better team. They came in ready. They came in ready. Give them some credit. Give them some credit. But this is interesting. Jimmy G is still bad. Seriously, I know it didn't really end well. But and by the way, he doesn't fit in that offense at all, but Cam Newton's still out there. If we lose if you do lose and by the way, that's going to be a good game. That is going to be a really good game because I think the Cards are a lot better than people thought, at least better than I thought. And either the Cardinals or the Lions are going to go 1-2. It's going to be a fun game. It's a lot different when you're the favorite. It's a lot different when you're favored. Yeah. It's a lot different. We'll find out. At Funk, I was paying attention to this. I know he got hurt. I don't think it's an issue. I don't think it's an issue. I think he's at practice today. I think everything's fine. Saints just had bruise. Yeah, he should be fine. ESPN reports that the X-rays are negative and that Herbert's fine. It's funny because I kind of like Easton Stick coming out of college, and I think he's a fine backup. To tell you the truth, I thought Heineke was gone. I should have been paying attention to that, but I think Herbert's fine. I do think Herbert's fine. So. And you're in need of him to be fine too, because that's going to be that's another really, really, really good game. God, who are they playing? Yeah, at Pittsburgh, Chargers at Pittsburgh. That's going to be a good one. I don't know if you saw this or not, but there was a play where he ran the ball, and the coach told him, it's like, hey, I called a passing play, and he goes, the center threw up on the ball. And what happened was the Packers center threw up on the football before he snapped it back to Willis. So Willis didn't know what to do, so he just ran the ball. And the coach got mad at him. He was like, I called the passing play. He goes, yeah, there's vomit on the football. And the referee went up to the Packers head coach. He goes, do you want me to pull him after game? He goes, yeah, I want you to pull off. I can't have somebody throwing. I can't have somebody throwing up. He's like, yeah, but Willis did play solid. It's also a big issue with the Colts. Anthony Richardson, they haven't developed him. They have not developed him at all. Perry, the Lions can wait another week to figure things out. Let Arizona have some nice things. Can Willis keep playing solid? I don't think he's going to need to be solid. I mean, ideally, Jordan Love is back in a few weeks. He did what he needed to do and got a win against a Colts team, which does not look good at all. Willis is not going to be a long-term answer, but I'm really impressed with what they did short-term. Really impressed with what they did short-term. It was 12 for 14 if the Pack doesn't ask him win. Yeah, exactly. Josh Jacobs had a good game. The Colts' run defense is terrible. Budda Baker's better, huh? Dude, I've always been a big Budda Baker fan. Always been a big Budda Baker fan. Can Rice have 1,000 yards? Absolutely. Yeah, he's on pace for over 1,000. He's the number one guy in Kansas City now. Rashee Rice is number one dude. He's a legit NFL number one receiver. Josh Rosen, that's who it was. Yeah. I really don't think it's that much different. I know your offense didn't play well, but you went against a really good defensive team in Tampa Bay. You went against a really good defensive team. Another thing you got to think about is that it is a lot different. I'm going to tell you something. It's a lot different being the underdog than being favorite. I would not bank on Goddard scoring a touchdown. He's not really a touchdown. Not really a touchdown scorer. Barkley, anytime touchdown, I do like. I don't love it because I think I have some. Atlanta has some really good players on defense. The only thing really stopping Atlanta from being a great defense is they have zero pass rush. So that's why they traded. Just literally said his name. Just literally said his name a few minutes ago. Jesus Christ. God, I'm such a moron sometimes. He just says his name. But yeah, the only thing that the Falcons have a solid defense. But yeah, I do like it. I don't love it. Tampa, another thing about Tampa Bay is that they probably circled this game on their count. Listen, it's a lot different when you're favored than being the underdog. Like if I was an underdog, I want Dan Campbell to be my coach. If I'm favored, I don't want Dan Campbell to be my coach. As of right now, hopefully in a couple months from now, I'm like, yeah, we're good. Let's see. Ryan is Roundtable. What's up, brother? Got some questions about your Colts. Got a few questions about the Colts, but it's always good to see you, brother. Always good to see you, brother. When Goff is on his game, but when he's not, he's the fan base is already calling Arnold a bust. This is a raw dude, so like I really, really, really think that you need to give him a little bit of time. I got Keaton Talks Sports. He's supposed to be with me at the top of this next hour here. I don't see him here. He may be running behind, but I'm going to go ahead and shoot Keaton a message. See if I can go ahead and make sure that he knows he's supposed to be here in just a second. I am going to take very, very quick commercial break. And when I come back, hopefully I can bring in Keaton from Keaton Talks Sports. Stay tuned for the final hour of Afternoon Delight. As Afternoon Delight takes a commercial break, we remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate. The video in the description below shows how easy and fast it is to collect your bonus. Click on the link in the description below and start winning today. A friendly reminder that my award-winning NFL Weekly Picks video is being released tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Make sure you watch it. If you watch it twice, today's guest, Keaton from Keaton Talks Sports, will pay you $100. Well, that isn't true, but the video will be awesome. Make sure you check it out. Use the notification icon to make sure that you comment first. The first person to comment wins $1 million. Well, that isn't true, but it is true that it's going to be a great video and it's being released tomorrow. All right. Yes. Man, guys, I told you he was going to be here. So the way it works, if you use StreamYard, is you can see in the box here, and Keaton just popped in. So I'm super excited about this. Show's always better if Keaton Talks Sports. To top of hour 3, we got Keaton from Keaton Talks Sports. Keaton, welcome, brother.
How you doing, Dan? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Listen, I got a bunch of questions I want to ask you, but before I start, would you mind providing an introduction, letting people know who are not familiar with you, who you are?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So my name is Keaton McNair, as you guys know. I have a YouTube channel I started last year. Build thing up as the year went by. I'm a sports management major from Ohio Dominican, graduated last spring. So I help out with my high school cross country tracks. I'm an assistant coach there, pretty much just in the sports world. So I'm just glad to be in this position, doing YouTube and putting out videos each and every single week and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just blessed to be here. And like I said, just thanks for having me on as always.
Man, and you kind of left off the big part that you're a Patriots and Ohio State Buckeye fan.
For sure.
I mean, we can
Buckeye fan, yeah. And Patriots fan.
You can see it. Now, actually, there's so many questions I want to go over, but I kind of want to start here. I think the biggest surprise of the NFL season is the Saints so far. Not only just being 2-0, but just having this dominant offensive start. Which one is more likely to be an MVP, Alvin Kamara or Derek Carr?
Honestly, you can make a case for either one, honestly. But if you had to ask me between the two right now, I have to give to Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr. I think people are looking at last year. I think he was getting pretty disrespected in terms of people tell him he's not a top tier quarterback. Obviously, he's not up there with the Mahomes of the world, but he can play. And I think he's definitely playing with a chip on his shoulder this season. I mean, people were obviously saying the Saints were a 5-6 win team. They're going to take a step back, and I think people are. And in this division, the NFC South is not really that hard to win. All you got to do is, if you're right around that 9 or even 8 to 10 win range, you can definitely have a shot being winning the division. So Saints are off to a hot start so far. But yeah, if you had to ask me, I would give it to definitely Derek Carr. But Kamara can obviously get it as well. I mean, he's definitely balling. Definitely one of the best running backs right now through 2 weeks.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Clint Kubiak was brought over as new offensive coordinator for the Saints. And by the way, I'm going to bring this into GB's comment here. If you need a head coach, why don't you look at the guy, who's worked with McVay and Shanahan, gets a shot as an offensive coordinator, just turns a team into an offensive juggernaut with a guy that, Keaton will tell you, has been disrespected. I remember he was at the Raiders and people just didn't like him for whatever reason, but Clint Kubiak's going to be the hottest name. Is the hottest name for a head coach. By the way, Kubiak, that name sounds familiar. His dad was the backup quarterback in Denver, backed up John Elway, head coach in Denver, head coach with the Houston Texans. So, I mean, as the bloodlines, worked with a bunch of good coaches, and now it's just doing something phenomenal. Let me do this here. Let me ask you this here, because we got some Lions fans in the chat. We're doing a lot of talk about Bucks and Lions. But in the NFC South here, which more impressive, Tampa Bay or the Saints?
Honestly, I have to say the Saints, just because no one really expected them to really, be in contention to, for the division, or even just, be in contention for a Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, the Saints, like I said, they have their offense, their pieces are there, obviously. There's people just didn't believe in them. They have a solid defense. I mean, they really shut down Dallas on Sunday, which I wasn't expecting them to go into Dallas and beat them down the way they did. I was a little surprised by that. I thought Dallas would be able to ride that momentum after what they did to Cleveland week 1, but it is the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the Cowboys. They have their ups and downs. They beat the Browns down 1 week, and then they come back home and get blown up by 25 points. But yeah, I mean, really give the credit to the Saints. I mean, this is a team that, I think the rest of the NFL needs to look out for, because, I think, like I said, Derek Carr is definitely playing with a chip on his shoulder, and the rest of the guys are following him behind. So, yeah.
Earlier today, it was kind of funny. So like right before I come on, I go and, try to look at, big news stories, what happened. And Bryce Young got benched. And I kind of like, I talked about my opinion here. I want to get your opinion here. I mean, you get Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick in the draft. I mean, there's a lot of problems there in Carolina. I mean, nobody's going to call Carolina, a stable franchise or anything, but, I open comments here. What are your thoughts about the number 1 overall pick in the draft getting benched?
I mean, can't really say I'm surprised. I mean, just my opinion, I just don't think Bryce Young is in the right situation. I never really was excited for him when he got drafted by Carolina. Just people talking about how he's very small. I mean, people saying he's like 6 foot. I think he's definitely smaller than that. The way he's in the pocket. There's times where people are saying that he can't really like see over the offensive line because, he's too small to even see what's going on ahead of him. But yeah, I just don't think, just looking at him right now. I mean, Adam Thielen, I believe that's his name, who's the wide receiver. He's clearly frustrated. And you saw there's a video I watched earlier that he was wide open. Bryce Young missed him. That, he could have took it to the house for a touchdown. So it's like, Bryce Young is not playing well right now. I just don't think he's in the right situation. I don't think they're really using him right, honestly, if I'm being honest with you, the coaching staff. And just, I don't know, it's rough. I mean, I have nothing else to really say about Carolina. They're just a bad football team. They're probably going to honestly be up there with the Giants for the number 1 pick next year. Because, I mean, I don't see it getting better for them, honestly.
Yeah, I brought this up earlier. You have a new general manager that was put into place after they hired their new head coach. So, I mean, the general manager who drafted Bryce Young, the head coach that wanted him, I'm going to use that in quotes because I think Frank Wright liked C.J. Stroud better. That's just my opinion. Would you just get rid of him? Just start from scratch? I mean, you roll with Dalton for the rest of the year and just try to draft the best quarterback available?
I mean, you could do that. I mean, Dalton has experience. I mean, he hasn't really done anything even when he was at Cincinnati, but it's like, I don't know I honestly don't know where they go. Even if you keep Bryce Young there, I just don't know. I think he's taken the most sacks so far out of any quarterback so far through 2 weeks. I mean, the offensive line is not good at all. He's not getting protection to throw the ball, to be able to throw the ball down the field. So it's like you could throw Dalton to see what he can provide for the offense, but I mean, I don't know. It's a mess there right now. I don't know what else to really say about
that. No, it is a complete disaster here. I said I think Dalton, the offense will look better under Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't think you have a good team there in Carolina. But I mean, let me ask you this here: what kind of trade value could you get out Bryce Young, or is it the trade value so low that you just keep them and hope they develops?
Well, I mean, I always say there's always a team that's always looking for a quarterback. I mean, I think Bryce Young does have some value. I just think, like I said, I think he needs to be under the right system and utilized the right way. I just don't think Carolina knows or has a clue about what they're doing in terms of their identity on offense. They can't obviously stop anyone defensively. So it's like, I think Bryce Young does have some value. It's just a matter of which team is going to be willing to give up some of the assets to get him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's a lot of value. I looked at I talked about him earlier today, and I'm already forgetting his name. Was it Trey Young, the third overall pick to the 49ers? The Cowboys gave up a 4th round pick for him.
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, yeah. Trey Lance, and I think that's what you do if you're Carolina. Just the difference is between San Francisco and Carolina. San Francisco's already got the guy. Carolina's still searching, but I want to get some comments in here, and then I want to talk some more here. GB brings up a great question. Do you think our run game holds up against Pittsburgh's defense with Fields in that offense? They do look all right. It'll be our first test this season, not the flashiest fixture, but it'll be one in the trenches. You're 100% correct. And by the way, the Raiders' defensive line's pretty solid. But this is a game that's all of a sudden, this is a great game. Chargers, Steelers, and does your run game hold up? That's a great question. Because I've been saying this, if you do fantasy football and you have J.K. Dobbins, I think it's a must start.
Right.
This is a great question here. Do you think the Chargers run game, which has been very good, are going to run all over the Steelers Sunday?
So this is a game I'm actually excited for. I want to see, because look, basically what the Chargers done through 2 games. I mean, the run game is phenomenal so far. But the Steelers, I mean, they're coming off of a defensive battle against the Denver Broncos. They really shut down Bo Nix and company. The Broncos couldn't really run the ball against their defense. I mean, Steelers are one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, we all know how terrible their offense haven't been able to put up points really through 2 weeks. But I think, in my opinion, you can't be one-dimensional, obviously, against this Steelers defense. You can try to run here and there, but you got to be able to, if you're Herbert, you have the weapons on the outside to be able to, utilize and put up points. So you have to try to be balanced against this Steelers defense, because they're obviously the first instincts to stop the run. They're going to try to shut you down or shut your run game down. So if you can be, mix in some run game, some play action against the Steelers defense, and just, my opinion, you have to get off to a hot start, because Pittsburgh's going to use that crowd, obviously, to their advantage, and obviously they're going to play great defense and stuff like that. And the Chargers' defense hasn't been all that bad either. If they can shut down Pittsburgh, that's obviously challenged offensively. I think you can put Pittsburgh on their heels, and then, you can walk off victory. So I think Chargers are in a good spot going into Pittsburgh. It's just a matter of, Steelers' defense. Obviously, that's what they've been relying upon to win games as of late.
Yeah, I mean, last year they had some problems against the run, but I remember they were just calling in linebackers off the street. This year they got Patrick Queen. They drafted my guy Keaton Wilson. That was a guy I just loved. Had injury issues in college, but I'm really impressed with what the Steelers have done so far. It's going to be a great game. Yeah. I'm going to have a score prediction released in my video tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. It's early in the season, but the Saints coordinator is getting mentioned for head coaching jobs. Yeah. By the way, James Savik, man, says my Saints finally got it together. You can't have Kubiak. I hate to tell you this. He's going to get a head coaching offer. By the way, I brought this up earlier, but Ben Johnson, who turned down multiple head coaching jobs, put up, 16 against the Bucs last week. He's going to kind of regret it. I've seen this before in the past where coordinators stay and don't take that head coaching job, and then things turn around and they fall apart. James Havik, by the way, we need more Saints fans in this community, so I hope I hear more from you. But he is gonna. There's going to be a handful of coordinators that are going to be mentioned every year. There's always 4 to, I think this last year was 8 new coaches, but there's always 4 to 8 every single year. I'm telling you right now, Giants are going to be one of them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina better turn things around. Cleveland, believe it or not, even though with a win, Jacksonville, who's 0-2, they need to pay attention.
I don't know what's going on there.
That's bizarre.
Robert Saleh.
Robert Saleh's on the hot seat. I mean, even though they beat the Titans, Jacksonville after an 0-2 start. I mean, they were 7-3, didn't even make the playoffs. I mean, there's several teams that are going to need a head coach and an offensive coordinator who turns around that offense. I've been saying this. I don't know if you remember Keys saying this or not. Me and Keys are really high on Lou Amaruno, the Bengals defensive coordinator. If you're an AFC team, don't you want to bring in a head coach that knows how to stop Patrick Mahomes? Like,
that's true.
I mean,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm happy we won the game, but I mean, you know, when Patrick Mahomes has a terrible game, don't you want to bring in the coach that knows how to stop that dude? Like that just makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, GB, there's Clint Kubiak will get a lot of interest as a head coach, and unfortunately, James, I hate to tell you this, but after this year, you're probably going to need a new offensive coordinator. But the Saints is just such a great story here. Perry says the Saints are an early season surprise. At Dallas being Dallas, getting a wrap up in their hype. Yeah, hey, look, it happens, man. You know, the Saints stay healthy. I'm excited because I mean the Saints and the Bucks doing well. That NFC South, it's a lot of fun. Young and Jones trade, I'm tripping. You know, Bryce Young, I mean I we'll have to find out. But I think that this is going to be interesting. We're going to see what Andy Dalton does, because if there's a vast improvement, you may just need to send him on the bench and see what happens.
Good.
You never know. You never know. I think Andy D is not the answer to Panthers picking top 5. Perry, you're right. Dalton is not the long-term answer. I mean, he's I don't know his exact age, but I remember that draft. He's I want to say he's 37, 38. I remember when he was drafted. I watched him play at TCU. It was one of the best drafts the Bengals had. They drafted A.J. Green in the first round. They drafted Andy Dalton in the second round. And A.J. Green's been retired for what, 3-4 years now? So, I mean, but yeah, I remember watching Andy Dalton. I'm showing my age a little bit, but I remember watching him play at TCU. And no, he's not the long-term answer. No question for that.
They could have, I mean, Dalton can be like a Brissett type situation where he just comes in. Mm-hmm. Just, be a bridge quarterback and let Bryce Young learn. And that's why I think, in my opinion, I think that's what the Panthers made a mistake. They just threw him in the Wolves instead of just, they probably should have sat him down for a year, let him learn. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely. I mean, you also can't go through 2 offensive coordinators, have a bad team around you, and expect to grow. But I wasn't high on Bryce Young. You said it immediately. You said Bryce Young wouldn't even look at the field at Ohio State. So I mean,
yeah,
he
would, yeah, that would, yeah.
But and by the way, I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be the answer too. But
no, absolutely not.
Damian Cole just found you through the Grossi rate. By the way, I was so.
That was crazy,
dude. That was awesome. I was so geeked out. I'm a Tom Grossi fan. I've known about. It's actually funny. There's a guy called Luke G. It's Luke G. Field Review. He's a Lions fan, and that's how I found Tom Grossi, was through Luke G. He went on Grossi's show, and I've been a big fan of Tom Grossi for a long time. And for him to raid me like that was just awesome. Yeah, I know. I dropped the ball there. I dropped the ball there. That's another thing, by the way, Perry, is as far as I know, we don't know who the starting quarterback for the Steelers is going to be. Is Russell Wilson healthy? That was the issue. They mentioned that they gave Russell Wilson a game ball, and I love what Justin Fields said is that Denver did him dirty. I don't know if you saw that or not, Keaton, but Justin Fields.
Oh,
yeah, Justin Fields. Yeah, I love how Justin Fields said that. But honestly, I mean, we don't know who's going to be a starting quarterback for the Steelers. We really don't know. We're going to find that out later in the week. Steelers Chargers going to be a great game.
Yeah, definitely.
Two teams I can see Bryce actually working in. Number one, Miami, use them as wildcat with Tua, or if Tua retires, you have Young. You know what? Bryce Young in Miami kind of makes a little bit of sense. I would not use him as a wildcat because I mean, Tua is, believe it or not, Tua's bigger. Even though he lost some weight. I mean, I never had a problem with Bryce Young's height, but I'm positive he weighed 185 at Bama. And I thought really needed to put on some weight in the offseason. He didn't do that at all. He didn't do that at all. This is interesting. Damian Cole says Patriots. How would you feel? You know, how would you feel? Why don't you get rid of Drake May, trade him for Bryce Young? How would you feel about that?
It depends on how May comes. I mean, we don't even know when May is going to see the field. That's going to be real. The first question is, when's he going to see the field? And I want to see how he does operating the offense. But it's hard to answer that question right now because we don't know when. Like I said, we don't know what we don't know when May is going to see the field this season. So we'll find out. But yeah, that's good. That's a good thought though. But I don't think one now. But yeah.
No, I agree. I agree completely. And I'm kind of. I mean, I think it's just a matter of time for May becomes a starter there. But Damian Cole, I seriously, if you're Miami, by the way, Miami, Keaton, I'm gonna throw you a curveball here. The Miami Dolphins did not put Tua on IR. They're going to wait till he's healthy, and he's going to come back and be the starter here. Is that the right move, or?
No, I don't think it's the right move. I've been saying this for a minute. Like, I think Tua needs to take a step back and just not play the game right now. I mean, he suffered four. This is his fourth concussion he suffered, or third, or whatever. Like, he's putting himself at risk. Like, I think it's just more. In my opinion, I think it's just more than football. For him, and you got a family, I believe you have 2 kids or whatever. So I mean, you have a whole life ahead of you. So it's like you're putting yourself at risk going back out there, and then what if he gets another concussion? Then it's really gonna come back on Mike McDaniel and that Miami's medical staff. Like I said earlier, I think Miami's medical staff did a terrible job the way they've been taking care of Tua. You know, last year he shouldn't have been playing in that game against Cincinnati 2 years ago. He should have been. Shouldn't have been in that game. And they decided to put him in there, and he got in their concussion. So, I just think it's been terrible the way they've been handling Tua.
No, I couldn't agree more. If you're Tua, I think seriously, just trying to come back in a couple weeks is the worst thing you can do. And I know that he's working with an evaluator or something like that, trying to get back on the field as soon as possible. You should just stay away from football, for a while. And
they picked up someone today from the.
They picked up Tyler Huntley, former Ravens quarterback, was with Cleveland, and Cleveland cut him. And the reason why is Jameis Winston. By the way, I remember when Jameis Winston was on Hard Knocks, and I was like, "Oh God, this is not a future NFL quarterback right here. He doesn't have the right attitude, doesn't have." But as a backup quarterback, I love Jameis Winston. I think he great energy on the sidelines, great engagement. And if things go bad with Deshaun Watson, I think Winston can come in there and win some games. I think he's going to stay in the NFL for another 10 years as a backup, and I think it's a good move. And I bring that up because if I'm Bryce Young, hey, go somewhere, put on some weight, be a backup quarterback. because Damian Cole, you're right. You could hide everything that was wrong with him at Alabama when he had an NFL team surrounding him. He goes to Carolina, lack of talent everywhere. And
Yeah.
Damian Cole, your Raiders, it's funny. I live here in Vegas now. Longtime Chiefs fan. I know you were upset with that Christmas win against the Chiefs. Nobody liked that. But man, we do need some more Raiders fans here.
Got a big win yesterday on Sunday.
God, I didn't realize. I knew that they won, but I didn't realize they were down by 10 multiple times in the second half. They take the lead 23-13, 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You have Derrick Henry. How do the Ravens mess that up, man?
I don't know. John Harbaugh messed up. I mean, they passed the ball a lot in that last quarter. I don't know why they just didn't run the ball, trying to milk the clock. I mean, that's the reason why he brought Henry there in the first place, for those situations.
It's funny. I had some Ravens fans that were, really, really critical about Harbaugh. And I'm like, well, dude, this is a good coach. And now I'm kind of like, I mean, look, if you're up by 10 at home with that team, you got to be able to close that out.
Yeah, you have to. And they better win this week because, you can't fall to 0-3 and expect to, try to make a playoff push.
I mean, it's funny. I think that the Browns, once they get healthy, that's a dangerous team.
That's true.
I mean, you got your two backup tackles and your best player, Nick Chubb, is on the PUP list. Just when they get healthy, that's a scary team. And you got the Steelers. If Steelers go 3-0, I mean that's going to be dangerous here. Perry brings up Brian Dable's number one in the hot seat. I've been saying this for a while. I mean, I don't think Daniel Jones is the answer, and I don't think Dable's the answer. Listen, I want to get to all the questions, but I got a guy who's a Patriots fan on the show. I didn't get a chance to watch this game. I saw some clips here. One thing I want to point out before I get your opinion is I do have to admit I'm impressed. Seattle ran the ball very well against Denver, got the win. They come into New England, and it seems like I want to hear your opinion, but it seems like what New England did is they said, okay, look, we're going to stop the run because you don't have Kenneth Walker. We're going to force Geno Smith to beat us, and it failed. Is the Seahawks offense, is this just a juggernaut? Did you guys drop the ball? Tell me what happened here.
I mean, we should have won. I mean, to be honest, we should have won the game. It was a low-scoring game for most of it. I mean, it was about 17-13 at halftime. I was like, if we keep ourselves within that 4-point range in striking distance, I think we have a chance to come out on top. I mean, Seattle, they didn't really do much in the first half. I mean, I thought, the Patriots defense did what they needed to do to slow down Geno Smith and make life hell for him. But the fourth quarters really got us the reason why we lost that game. It was 4th and 1. We had the ball. I believe it was around our own 48-yard line. We'll have to go back and watch the tape on that. But it was 4th and 1. We decided to punt the ball instead of going for it. I'm like, why not just go for it? Well, actually, we did go for it, but we tried to go up the middle, and then Seattle got the ball back, and then they went down. And then we were about to kick a field goal and got blocked, and Seattle took it back, and then they tied it up, and then it went into overtime and stuff. And then we got the ball to start overtime, which I kind of feel like we messed up there because our offense, we went 3 and out. As soon as we got the ball in overtime, we went 3 and out. And Seattle got the ball, drove it right down the field, and they got a field goal and won. So it's like some of the coaching decisions, and then I think there's just, like I said, we're a young team. But I like the fight the Patriots showed in that game. I mean, like I said, I think we're a team that, nobody's going to blow out. We're going to be in every game. It's just going to be a matter of us executing in the late game situation. As long as we're competitive, that's all I'm really asking for from this team this year. But I like the fight we've showed. But, we should have won if we would have just did make those little mental errors. But yeah, Seattle credit. I mean, their offense, their wide receivers, what's his name? DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then Tyler Lockett. I mean, that's a hell of my opinion, that's a hell of a wide receiver trio there. I mean, Seattle's definitely a team that's a sleeper, not potentially a Super Bowl, but just a sleeper playoff team. I think people are really sleeping on and disrespecting them in the NFC side. So they're off to a good start. So, but it was a good game, though.
I forget where Jackson Smith and Najigba went to college at, but I remember that Rose Bowl. It was like 400 yards receiving or something like that. I was like the best game. Now, in all fairness, Utah had Jalen Johnson. He decided to not play in that game. I think it was like two other defensive backs. They had like a former running back play corner in that game, but that Jackson Smith and Jigba Rose Bowls, I've never seen a player play like that in a bowl game ever. It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he's something special. He's a really good wide receiver.
Yeah, I think I know I don't think it's his last 100-yard game in the NFL either. Like they got a nice trio of receivers in Seattle. I did see the clip where they went for it on fourth down and failed, and that was frustrating. One other thing I want to make sure, because I want to get some of these comments here. I've been telling people, I had a buddy of mine who has CMC on his fantasy league, and I was like, well, let's look at the waiver wire. And I said, I got a feeling Antonio Gibson's going to get a few more carries. He had 90, I think it was 96 yards rushing. Are they going to use him more? Did you just forget about him? What's the story with him?
Nah, use him more. I mean, like I said, Lamondre Stevenson, obviously, he's the number one running back. But Gibson, I think, good to mix him and Stevenson. Because, I mean, I think the problem in the last few years is Ramondre has gotten the heavy workload. And that's the reason why he's had some of those critical fumbles late in games, because he's been obviously the workhorse of the team. Now having Antonio Gibson in there now really takes some of the load off him. So I think using him and Lamondre, bouncing the touches between those two guys, it's really helped this team. I mean, like I said, the run game is obviously our identity. That's what obviously teams know about the Patriots is, we want to run the ball because we don't really have a lot of necessarily playmakers to make plays down the field. We do have a nice young core, but we're young and we have a lot to learn on that side. But strong run game, strong defense, and that's what's keeping us in a lot of these games.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is good. I have to admit, I mean, that was a good passing performance by Geno Smith. I've never been sold on Geno Smith. I'm not a Geno Smith fan, but I have to admit, give him a little bit of credit. But I do like the 1-2 combo that you had here. I got some great comments I want to read out. I want to get your opinion on some of these here. Tua needs like 2 months off, and he needs to retire to manage more years in his life than he does playing football. I don't want to see a documentary in 20 years and he's crippled. Damian Cole, I feel the same way. My dad, I know it's before Keaton's time. There was a player in the NFL dominant named Mark Gastineau, and my dad said that they showed Gastineau on TV and said he felt bad for him. He could like barely move, had concussions, had some other issues. There's a lot of stories about guys that finished their NFL career and they can't function because of head injuries. You're 100% correct. Michael McFarland, welcome, brother. I can't stand the Chiefs. You have a home here, brother. Just because I'm a Chiefs fan doesn't mean you have to like the Chiefs. Keaton's favorite team is also the Chiefs. So, I mean, you got a couple. No, he's not. That's not all true. But all 32 fan bases are welcome here. I'm a diehard Bears fan, and we're struggling here. That defense is amazing, though.
Oh, yeah.
That defense is amazing.
That defense is legit.
Yeah. Actually, Keaton, I'm glad he brought this up because I'm going to bring it up here. I think if the Bears had an average offense, that's a playoff team.
And you're definitely right. I mean, like I said before, I think, the issue with the Bears, and it's not their defense. Their defense towards the end of last year was one of the best units of football in all of the league. Like, the issue with the Bears is their offensive line because, like, there were times, like, Caleb Williams, took some big hits, like, towards the second half of that game. He took some big hits because our offensive line couldn't block for him to get it done when it matters. It's like, and there are some Bears fans I was watching a video earlier. They were talking about how Caleb Williams may not make it through the season, which I was like, that's interesting.
No, I don't. He's going to miss a couple games. I promoted this heavy over under on his passing yards was 3,500 through BetUS. And I was like, you want to take the under because I don't think he's going to play 17 games. And after watching him for 2 weeks, he doesn't look like he's NFL ready. I mean, he doesn't look ready at all. Like, I don't know how you feel. I think they should have kept Justin Fields myself and tried to fix that offensive line. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, they should have did that. I mean, I don't want to get into the Justin Fields talk. I said last year I thought they should have kept him too, kept Fields. I'm like, if you're going to get Caleb Williams, I'm like, why not just first of all, you got to the most important thing is to cover the offensive line for a rookie quarterback to come into the league. Like, we know Fields can use his legs, but this is the NFL. This is not USC. We're able to run all over defenses. You're going up against grown men who have experience, who are faster. So why not try to fix the offensive line for the Chicago Bears to give him more time to throw the ball? Now that he's scrambling for his life. I mean, look at the Titans game. They beat the Tennessee Titans. I mean, he was still scrambling for his life in that game.
I remember he tried to do that double reverse stuff, and he got sacked for like a 20-yard loss against Tennessee. And I'm like, yeah, I remember that at USC. Yeah, that worked against Oregon State, Caleb Williams. This is the NFL. This is the NFL. You're not. There's no Oregon States on here, which by the way lost like by 40 against Oregon last week. But
they were in the game and got blown out in the second half.
Yeah, I know. I was saying I might put actually Oregon State to cover 16. So like, but Mike, man, I'm gonna tell you. You said Michael McFarland. Like, hopefully you're not mad at that. But listen, man, that defense is good. That defense is. I mean, seriously, I was watching that Sunday night game. I'm like, oh God, if this offense is just middle of the pack, this is a team. It's a shame because I Caleb Williams probably isn't going to last 17. I don't think he's NFL ready. I've never been sold on the dude myself, but
we'll find out.
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out. More hits, and then he might be out for the rest of the season. But the offensive line will get their stuff together.
That's going to be the number one thing, and I don't know if you remember this, but when the Chiefs lost to the Patriots in was a 2018 AFC Championship game, right as soon as free agency hit, the first thing Kansas City did was poach Joe Thuney, the Patriots' best offensive line. And if you notice, the Chiefs have won a couple Super Bowls, and a large part of that's Joe Thuney and the offensive line. And so. Yeah. If you're the Bears, I kind of take a look at that blueprint because it worked for the Patriots. Mm-hmm. Joe Thuney won I think 1 or 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots, and now he's won 3. He's won 3 with Kansas City.
Yeah.
So hopefully number 4. So, but yeah, Mike. Hey, man, we need more Bears fans in here, man. So I'm glad you're here.
Get them on here for sure. Get them on here.
I like Leggett, but Legette's a raw dude.
He's very raw.
Very raw. I didn't like him as a draft pick for Carolina because I really think you need somebody to help out. But next year, if you get your quarterback position aligned right, it could be something special.
And I wanted to throw that. I'm like, bro, like it's gonna be a matter. Like I think Legette I think the potential is there. It's just like I said, I just don't think. Like Bryce Young's a good quarterback. I just don't think he can give the ball to them consistently. Like I said, he's a very small dude. He can't really see over the offensive line. So it's like, how much is he going to be able to get the ball consistently?
We'll find out. I mean, I think the Panthers made a smart move putting in Andy Dalton, and I think you're going to see the offense get a lot better.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You live in Denver. It's actually funny. I go to Black Hawk, which is a suburb of Denver. I don't know if you know where that is. But Black Hawk, I didn't go last year, but when I moved out here, I stayed in Black Hawk for a couple of nights, or one night, I'm sorry. But I go to Black Hawk, which is like a suburb of Denver. I try to go every year. But yeah, I just moved to Vegas this year. It's hot. I like it, but yeah, they're by the way, it's funny. But yeah, I hear a lot of Raiders talk. They are really excited after this last week, and they should be. They should be. You should be too. I mean, that was a big win against
Gardner Minshew looked good.
Gardner Minshew did look good because I was adamant like, oh, you need a new quarterback, and then I'm watching the clips. I'm like, okay, well, 6 points in the first half against the Ravens. Yeah, I look right. Yeah, 13 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I'm right. And then next thing I know, Raiders won this game. What the hell? And Minshew looked good, man. Panthers need to come up with a plan going forward. I think step one, benching Bryce Young is the right thing.
That was a step, yeah.
Yeah, and I seriously, I just get rid of him. It worked in Philly. They got rid of Carson Wentz. Pittsburgh's trying something creative. We're still waiting to see who the starting quarterback's going to be. The Patriots. Hey, what happened? What happened with Mac Jones? He's not there anymore. You analyze the problem. It doesn't matter if you draft him in the first round. Doesn't matter if he's not the guy, get rid of him, and that's the kind of the game plan. So I like that. It's going to be a long year if you're a Panthers fan, though, probably.
Yeah.
An international supporter. Where are GB? Where are you from? And by the way, it's cool. I got a Raiders fan and I got a Chargers fan. So here we are, Keaton. We're Chiefs fans, and
all the AFC teams in here. Let's go.
We need all the AFC teams in here, man. Oh God, the Bears looked so good, and Williams. It's funny. I watched Hard Knocks, and there was a lot of like little things I think that's off. But I've all the teams, a dude who paints his nails and wears a dress like Chicago's not like.
Trying to win. Like they ain't about that, all that other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, I'm not. You're a dude who wants to wear a dress. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm gonna be clear. You're nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm just saying Chicago's like LA. It's a little
market you're
in Chicago. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but Williams, yeah, but God, that defense is so good. The biggest issue is the offensive play caller, and a lot of people are blaming Caleb Williams. It's not his fault. He doesn't have any protection. You're right. You have offensive line issues. Remember, what'd you do right after the season was over, Mike? What'd you do? You fired your offensive coordinator like almost instantly. Like it was like an hour after the game was over. You told Getsy to get the hell out. And I thought that when you fired Getsy, it was because you were all in on Justin Fields. I think you mismanaged that situation. I think you could have got more for Fields than you did. But that defense is so good. But you have problems in your offensive line. Caleb Williams has to take a little bit of responsibility, though. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, Keaton, Mike has a great point here. He says the biggest issue is the offensive play caller. But it's not all Caleb Williams' fault. Let me get some thoughts on this great comment here from Mike.
Yeah, I mean, he does have somewhat of a point about Caleb Williams. It's not all his fault. At the end of the day, you are the quarterback, so you have to be able to make better decisions with the football. If nothing's there, don't try to, force the ball down the field. Like I said, this is the NFL. This is the pros now. You're not able to run the ball like you did in college. So you have to be better with your decision making. You have to understand. You have to have a clock in the back of your head. Like players are coming at you. You have to have a clock to get the ball out. You can't hold on to the ball too long. There were some times in that Tennessee game where he was holding on to the ball way too long. So you have to be better just throwing the ball away if nothing's there and just making a simple play, not making the game too hard on yourself. But, yeah, he does have a point about the offensive line being just terrible. I mean, honestly, they should have covered that in this year's draft. I think they should have gotten someone at number 9, in my opinion. I thought there were some times where I had Olu Fashanu or some of the other tackles going there.
Yeah, you had Fashanu going there.
That would have been, Fashanu didn't really give up any sacks at Penn State. So, that would have been a phenomenal, in my opinion, that would have been a phenomenal pick at number 9 for the Bears, just to give him more protection.
Yeah, I mean, I know they got Tavon Jenkins. He was a guy that I liked. I liked the fact that I didn't think he was a tackle. I thought you should have kicked him inside the guard immediately. You drafted Anthony Wright with a 10th overall pick in last year's draft. Braxton Jones is a guy you used a 5th round pick out of Southern Utah, if I remember correctly. You guys like him at left tackle, but I mean, I don't know if he's the long-term solution, but you still need help in the interior. Another thing is that I don't like your play calling. That was one thing about Stefanski. I'm apples and oranges here, but they brought Stefanski to Cleveland because they thought it'd be a good fit with Baker Mayfield. And then when they didn't work, they made all that moves with Deshaun Watson. But Stefanski used to do a lot of bootlegs, a lot of rollouts, a lot of high percentage plays. And I'm not really seeing that with the Bears. I'm not seeing I hate to use the expression, but dumbed down offense, because what you want to do when you have a young quarterback who's mobile is you kind of want to go with the progressions. You kind of want to do something like 1-2 run or 1-2 check down. You want to make it simple, and it doesn't. It looks like he's overwhelmed. Matt Nagy, who was fired as the Bears head coach, I remember him bringing in the Chiefs offense, which is the most complex offense in the NFL. And remember, what was it? Mitchell Trubisky. He had Mitchell Trubisky, and he looked overwhelmed. He looked like he did not know what to do because it was just too much. And that's kind of what I that's just my impression. But they kind of need to dumb down the offense. Another thing they should do is just try to lean on that running game. I mean, I think Swift needs to touch the ball a little more.
Yeah, be balanced.
I had such a man crush on DeAndre Swift coming out of Georgia. The over under until Williams freak over him having to get pressure. I don't know, man. I don't know, Perry, but I'll be honest. Like, I really like that Tyson Bagent kid. I know you can't do it. You can't bench the number 1 pick in the draft for a second-year undrafted rookie free agent, but I mean, I honestly think that they put Bagent in, run the ball more, that team could go to the playoffs. So I don't have an answer, but I think that this just looks like it's completely mismanaged. But that defense is for real in Chicago, and hopefully Williams get things turned around. But honestly, I can see improvement from game 1 to game 2, so I can see the improvement already, and that's good. I will say this: he did look a lot better from week 1 to week 2, but I mean, he's got a lot of room to work. He's got a lot of room to work, man. And who would have thought we would be talking so much about Caleb Williams? I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome. Damian comes in. Caleb, I feel bad for his play calling was better in USC. The Bears are trying to make him something he's not, while they should just play to his strengths. You know what? He probably did have better play calling at USC. He probably did. I mean, you got what's his guy? I already forgot his name. He was head coach in Arizona. Now he's the offensive coordinator in Washington. Kingsbury, Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah, Kingsbury. He was there. The USC coaching staff. Of course, USC. Their head coach has just been grinding out the NFL quarterbacks left and right. But they need to fix some things in Chicago. They really do. But that defense is so good, man. That defense is so good. I have someone in my league that has CMC Cup and Hollywood Brown. Oh God.
Yeah, I was about to say the Rams Cup. The Rams have so many injuries. It's crazy.
It really is. It's a shame because I thought that they could be a playoff team, but they're just in a really, really, really bad shape. Yeah, hopefully, Mike, that's not you. I told my buddy who had CMC, I told him to take a flyer on Antonio Gibson, who was available. And I know he picked him up. I don't know if he started him, but hopefully he did, because Gibson got 96 yards, and I think he's going to be more involved in that Patriots offense coming up. Hollywood Brown hopefully comes back week 5. But
how long is he out for? I was about to ask that.
He's on IR. I think he's coming back week 5. They're still waiting to see. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to play a little more, and I think he'll. By the way, for Sunday night, I expect Juju Smith-Schuster to play a little more than he played against the Bengals. Great job by Lou Anarumo, the Bengals defensive coordinator, on Patrick Mahomes, and that whole Chiefs offense did an A+ job. Damian says, I agree, but none of that matters. If he's not comfortable with the plays called, he needs to step up to the coaches and say, I like these plays, let's run them. We're losing either way. I don't know if you watch Hard Knocks, Damien, but when they show him one-on-one with Eberflus, he always has his arms crossed. He's always like leaning back, and he always has like really short answers. Like, he doesn't look like he even wants to be there. He doesn't even look like he wants to be in the room with them. I don't know if it's the TV cameras, but it just. He doesn't look comfortable. When I watch all that Hard Knocks. Another weird thing, I'm probably reading into this, probably nothing there, but like in the quarterback room, he's on one side, the other three quarterbacks on the other side. Now it's only two because they one of them's in Minnesota, the other one was signed as a practice squad player. But I really would have liked to seen the Bears get a veteran and sit next to him and say, okay, hey, look, you want to kind of look at these things. He doesn't look like he's getting any of that direction. And also, watch Hard Knocks. Watch him engage. He does it. By the way, like I read this. I used to want to be a professional poker player. I read a book on body language. When people cross their arms like this, it's usually a sign that you're not comfortable in that conversation. And it's usually a sign that you're not comfortable. He always has his arm crossed. He's always leaned back, I kind of want to see him like hands forward, more engaged. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I mean, look at the way he's playing. He doesn't look like he's engaged with the offense. So, by the way, we only got 10 minutes left, and I know Keaton Talks Sports has about 5 dates he's got going, so I know he's got to get going. I also want to get everybody out of here before Monday Night Football. So if I don't get all of your questions, please drop a comment below. You can always DM me on social media. Or if you're old school and you want to go and email, dantalksfootball@yahoo.com. I'm going to try to get as many through as I can, but we only got 10 minutes left. He obviously needs development. He needs plays that he's comfortable with. I don't think he's comfortable with any of the plays that have been given to him. Keaton, I want to hear about this. I think this is a great comment here. I want to get your thoughts on this one.
This is about Caleb Williams, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
sir.
I completely agree with you. He obviously needs to develop. He needs to play. He needs plays that he's comfortable. I guess like what they said earlier, man. You need to, Caleb Williams needs to go up to the staff and be like, hey, I want to run these plays. Like, you got to be able to play up to his strength. Because if not, he's going to continue to be uncomfortable in the pocket, and you're going to put him at risk to not develop properly. So you have to be able to play up to his strengths, if he wants to be successful at the next level. Because, the Bears do have, I believe they have talent offensively. They have, look at the wide receiver room. It's just a matter of him getting protection on the offensive line and obviously not being too vanilla with the play calling. Just give him the right play calls that works to his strengths, and then he'll be a good quarterback.
No, I agree there. And Mike, you're right, because the Steelers, matter of fact, the Steelers got their starting center. I don't remember if it was second or third round, and they draft Fatanu.
Zach Frazier.
Zach Frazier. Zach Frazier starting. They got him, I think, in the third round. You could have traded down from 9. Cooper Beebe, he's starting in Dallas. Fuega, who's the starting left tackle with the Saints. By the way, is the Saints offense doing anything this year? Did the Saints offense do anything? You know what they did in the first round? They drafted Fuega. So you're right. By the way, Rome Odunze was my draft crush. I loved that dude. But yeah, no, you didn't need a receiver.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was probably my minor mistake I think the Bears made, is like they feel like they need to put playmakers around Caleb Williams. Okay, but at the end of the day, you need the protection to be able to have time to throw the ball down the field. And I think that's where they messed up. But yeah.
Yeah, Joe Alt plus Williams and Noah Duze, perfect. So here's the thing, throw this out there. Chargers used the 5th overall pick on Joe Alt. You know what the Chargers are? They're undefeated. Pittsburgh drafts a couple of offensive linemen. You know what? They're undefeated. Now they play each other. The Saints, I could make a case that the Saints wanted a receiver, but they decided that they were good. They drafted an offensive lineman instead.
Derek
They're
Carr.
undefeated. You know what the Bucs did in the first round, Keaton?
Got Graham Barton.
You know what? They're undefeated. Yeah.
And next year's draft is going to be like, you see the tackle class next year, it's deep.
Yeah, the tackle class is deep. If you need help on defense, there's a lot of edge rushers in this draft, and there's going to be a few quarterbacks available as well. And then Travis Hunter, the Colorado receiver, defensive back. I mean, he's. I think the plan is still for him to play corner. He's going to be a top 10 pick. I mean, that dude's going to be a lot of fun.
I hope you don't go to.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off, man.
No, I was saying, hope the Chiefs don't pick him up.
Oh God, that would be so much fun, man. Everybody, I would love to see Travis Hunter as a Chief, man. That would be awesome. No, I mean, I agree. I said this so many times. If I'm the Bears at 9, I would have traded down, and there was a lot of different players. Graham Barton, he would have been a starter day one. Zach Frazier, he would have been a starter day one. Cooper Beebe would have been a starter in day one. If I remember right, Zach Frazier, he was the Steelers' 3rd round pick. He looks like a Pro Bowler. As a rookie, he looks like a Pro Bowler. Cooper Beebe looks really good. You could have gotten him in the 2nd round. You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. In my opinion, most underrated the last year. Yeah, that was another thing, is that they used a 1st round pick on Kenyon Green. That was a guy I was really, 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 really high on coming out of Texas A&M. Really, he's really, really, really good player. Does Williams have a touchdown yet? I don't think he does.
No, he is. No, they ain't. I don't know if he does.
I don't think he does. So J.J. McCarthy is the same amount of touchdowns as Caleb Williams, Bo Nix. Bo Nix has that rushing touchdown, and Jaden Daniels has a couple of rushing touchdowns. By the way, I don't know the number, but Jaden Daniels needs to quit running the damn ball. He's not going to last the whole season either.
Yeah, being RG3 part 2. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, don't do that. GB says, you know what? This will be the final question that I'll answer on the show. I know Keaton's got a busy day. Monday Night Football's coming up. I'm really excited about that. However, you can email me directly. My social media is below. Keaton Talks Sports on Instagram is fire, by the way. So I didn't have the link in there, but go to his YouTube channel. You can find him on Instagram. Make sure you hit up Keaton Talks Sports on Instagram. Really, really awesome Instagram feed. I want to try to butt in one more question if I can. What are you guys thought on the whole hip drop tackle problem? So if you didn't see, it happened on Sunday Night Football to Joe Mixon. The TJ Edwards rolled on his ankle by doing the hip drop. And they kind of addressed this during the show. And I'm going to give my opinion. I want to get Keaton's opinion too in the last couple of minutes here. It's really hard to call that live. Everybody who I've talked to that's been on an NFL field says the same exact thing. They say the game is so fast. There was a former Chiefs player played with the Chargers. He said in college, you can see the number of the player who hits you, but in the NFL, it's just a blur. The game is so much faster. It's so much quicker. And, you know, I personally just think that there's really not much that you can do because the game goes so fast. Now, TJ Edwards is going to get fined for that. But as far as what's my thought, I don't think there's anything you can do. Yeah. I don't think there's anything you can do. You can't call that during the game. It happens too quick. And I don't blame the referees at all. But, I mean, if you're going to outlaw the play, they're going to hit TJ Edwards in the pocketbook. I'm sorry, Keaton. I went on rant way too long here. I want to get your thoughts on this.
No, because that's a good question. I mean, like, I saw that. I was watching the Bills game the week 1 where Josh Allen he got tackled. I can't remember the guy's name on the Cardinals, but he brought him down. It was the same deal, hip drop tackle, and Josh Allen was like referee was right there and missed a call, and he was just like, why did you not call that? So it's like you said, the game is too fast and stuff like that. But like I said, I don't know if there's really much you can do in terms of just, you're not going to be able to call that consistently because of how fast the game is. So it's like, it just kind of is what it is there.
No, it really is. And, I'll be honest, I didn't think it should have been outlawed to begin with. I think it's just one of those things where you play in the NFL, you risk getting hurt. That's why they make millions of dollars. I mean, it's a violent game, but bottom line, I know TJ Edwards, who made that tackle to hurt Joe Mixon, he'll get fined. But I don't think that we'll see. You'd have to tell me. I haven't seen one penalty yet, and I don't think you will.
Not that I know of.
No, you're not going to see it. So, listen, guys, we're at the 3-hour mark here. I got to bring the show to an end. If you have any questions, I'll have my phone on for a little bit. I'm going to shut it off in about an hour. No updates about Monday Night Football. So about when the game starts, I'm going to shut my phone off. But if you have any questions about prop bets or anything, drop a comment below. You can also DM me on social media, or you can go old school and shoot me an email. Okay, Keaton, before I end the show here, any final words, thoughts, anything at all? The floor is yours.
Yeah, like I said, thanks for having me on for the last hour. And it's always a pleasure to do this with you every week. Like I say, I have a YouTube channel as well. So you guys, I have a video coming out either tomorrow or Wednesday, but I'm currently working on it right now. So keep your eyes on that. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on my YouTube channel, obviously. So I have stuff going on there. So yeah, just keep your eyes open. But yeah, thanks for having me on as always. And,
man, dude, thanks for coming on, man. By the way, I love the shirt, man. That is so awesome. I gotta get this here. That is just so pimp, man. That the Ohio State polo. That is so pimp, man.
Pulled out real quick. We didn't play last week. I was thinking we had a game last week. I forgot we were on the bye week. I was like, oh, we play next week. I was like, okay.
We didn't even talk. Michigan's going to play USC, and Michigan's starting a new quarterback. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, I know. So yeah, Michigan's going to start the big kid from Texas. But anyway, man. Hey, listen, I'll be back for 3 hours of afternoon delight tomorrow. I'll have my NFL picks video out tomorrow. Have a great night. Can't wait for Monday Night Football. I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow.
Peace out.